I don't think so at all. Maybe a little bit up front if they can break away, but if they When the North American Racing League unloaded at Hockenheim for their first ever Porsche Cup event, the world was full of unknowns. 1 week later, and we moved on to North Florida in a whole new world of unknowns. The one thing we know for sure, though, is that NASCAR is not the only series for drafting. Any driver who thought Hockenheimring was a draft fest is in for a rather large awakening tonight at the World Center of Racing. Hi, and welcome to PitStopTV in the virtual Daytona International Speedway. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with JP Costa alongside, and JP, we've already seen Miatas and touring cars on the Daytona road course in just the last month or so, but this Porsche Cup car, it's a whole new animal.
Oh, absolutely, and Hockenheim was absolutely amazing, and well, on Daytona is going to be more of the same, I guess. Even greater racing, greater overtakes, but also a lot of new challenges. As you mentioned, a draft fast that could really prove dividend for some drivers and could really throw some strategies up in the air tonight. So I'm really excited to see what these drivers have in store for us, both in the amateur and the Pro-Am and Pro class.
These North American Racing League guys will be drafting. That's what we know. That is what we know. Aside from that, we are in for another whole world of surprises. A lot of drivers are going to show what they've got tonight, I think, on the first big speedway. Well, I say big speedway, but the first big road course that we've got. A lot of long straights, heavy braking zones, and of course those hairpin horseshoes in the middle are a whole lot of fun. As I mentioned, we are this evening at the World Center of Racing. JP, we had a broadcast earlier in the day, and I want to touch on this first, get it out of the way, because it's just so cool to me. It is Tuesday, February 2, 2022, and we've got two broadcasts. We couldn't have worked that out any better. It was not intentional at all. We brought on the British sim racers in December, and then, just prior to that, we had ironed out the details with the North American Racing League to make sure we had this season of Porsche Cup racing. This was not intentional, but I'm so happy that we've got two broadcasts today. Of course, we had we crowned a few champions earlier on at Bathurst, made the quick virtual flight on over to Daytona, and here we are. Let's go ahead and look at the track map, though. It's Daytona, JP. There's not a whole lot, I guess, to say about it, other than it is the World Center of Racing. This is, at least in the States, it's just about the mecca of motorsport. It's easy to have the argument between Indianapolis and Daytona, I think, but to me, anyways, Daytona is where it is. Daytona is where it happens. Of course, I grew up a NASCAR fan, and I think my awe around the 24 hours of Daytona was only increased when more and more NASCAR drivers started running it and running those prototypes, be it the Rileys of old, or of course the Cadillacs and the Corvettes of maybe a little bit newer. It's so cool that for so many decades there has been a road course inside of the best racetrack, or at least the most important racetrack maybe to NASCAR. It's such a cool concept.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely. I love the concept of having a roval, having that oval aspect of the race course, as you mentioned, as you run in NASCAR, and having a road course section that kind of just run inside, obviously, and uses part of that oval course. It's just so nice. Obviously, we have plenty more in the United States, and I just absolutely love it. I think Daytona is the best implementation of that when you talk about racing and, just even endurance racing or even sprint racing. Obviously, Charlotte comes to mind, but also like a joke around, you can say. It's a bit more tricky, but I absolutely love Daytona. It was the first track I raced on iRacing after I got all the cars, all that sort of stuff. It was the first track I raced on Project Cars just because it just is smooth, it flows and it has a nice rhythm. I just absolutely love this race course, let it be on the oval or the roval course.
Now, we don't have a solid lap time in the real world for a Porsche Cup car here, be it the previous version or this 992, but the closest we do have, JP, is a GT Daytona lap time. That's a 1:44.541. That is the lap record in GT Daytona, or otherwise known as GT3, ever here at Daytona International Speedway in the real world. Obviously, iRacing is a different box of worms, but we can kind of go off of that and can deduce that these cars are going to be a little bit slower the rest of the day. Well, granted, these may or may not be draft laps that are being set right now in qualifying, but they are just a little ways off of that. And I do believe they have been drafting the fastest lap so far in practice, a 1:45.785. So a little over a second off of that lap time, but still really, really competitive. You could put these cars alongside a GT Daytona car, and there wouldn't be too much difference. I think the biggest difference is the lengthening of the braking zones, of course. You got to slow down early. You've got to manage that lack of ABS. And these cars have massive brakes. They can lock up very, very easily, and especially in the nose, because, of course, these are mid-engine cars. The nose is a little less weight. You can skip the nose around a little bit more. You can lock up those brakes and have those troubles. That's what we're going to watch throughout the course of the day. And I think we were talking about it a little bit pre-race, well, pre-broadcast, you and I, JP. I think especially in this amateur race, watching these guys modulate the brakes and especially sail it into turns 1 and the bus stop. Of course, the mall corner now. Working those braking zones, I think, is going to be one of the biggest storylines in this amateur race. We don't have to worry about fuel. That's not, the main concern here in this amateur race of only 30 minutes. I think it's going to be the heavy braking zones.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't matter how much practice these guys put in, let it be on the official practice session, obviously on private practice sessions as well. When you come to the race, it's just a completely different monster. So having to modulate the brakes under pressure, trying to overtake or defend with someone, that's really going to be an interesting challenge for these guys. And obviously, Andrew, that applies not only to Daytona, but if you think about it, Long Beach, with all those bumps, that's going to be also a big challenge. So this could be a bit of a practice run, you'd say, but Long Beach is just going to be so interesting to see how these drivers are going to react. But obviously, first they got to tackle Daytona, and they have to excel at it.
Yeah, this is a big obstacle, I think, for a lot of these drivers. A lot can happen today. I touched on the fact that we've seen Miatas and touring cars here recently on this road course. BSR was here just last month, about a month ago, in fact, maybe a little more. We saw very, very crazy racing, even without being the slower Miata or even slower TCRs. I think we're going to see some packs, some draft battles today, some 3 wides coming to the start-finish line. Certainly in this shorter AM race, we'll see how the Pro-Am race goes. I know Fabio's already out there talking about fuel saving, and Andre even touched on it last week in his winter interview, so that's going to be a focus later on. But right now in this more of a sprint race, 30 minutes for the amateurs, there's definitely the potential for some big incidents, and drivers are already talking about, if they want to bump draft or not. It's been a topic of conversation for the last day or so. It's pretty much up to your own risk, up to your own volition if you want to do that, and if you wreck somebody, well, then it's on you. So we'll see how drivers police that this evening. There's a lot to talk about, really a lot to talk about here at Daytona. Obviously, Long Beach, Hungaroring, Spa, going to be very fantastic race courses in and of themselves. I'm most excited for Charlotte and Road Atlanta, certainly, 2 racetracks that I love to death, and Red Bull Ring is going to be a great place to settle this championship, no matter what class we're talking about. Let's go ahead and take a look at our standings coming into this amateur race. Here we go. Alex Persian with a round 1 victory out in Germany. Agustin Castro second, and Brian Zinn third. That's your top 3. Aubrey Kundal, though, was very, very good, and he honestly, I think, is going to be one of the drivers to watch today. Miguel Cardozo, very good as well. Diego Era, Ilya Speakers, we learned that name. Thank you so much to Ilya and everybody else who sent in their name pronunciations. And by all means, if you're a driver out there listening to my voice right now and we butchered your name, by all means, contact us on social media or through Discord or both and let us know how to pronounce your name, because we want to get that right. There's a lot of names to look at here, and I think names that I haven't touched on yet, JP, certainly you have to look to guys like Joshua Benjamin, William Valdez, guys that we know, guys that we've seen a little bit more of in previous seasons to see how they can do.
Oh, absolutely. Those obviously are going to be guys to keep an eye out for, because we know how strong they are. We know their pace. We know what they're capable of. And another thing, Andrew, that I really like about NARL is I guess you can say how close the points are. You can see first and second place after 1 round is only 4 points. So it really rewards the drivers, to try to race, actually, just try to be present in the race. Obviously, if you lose a race, let's say Alex Persian, if he lost a race, he lost the possibility to win 52 points. So by the end of today, if someone is not present, they're going to lose a lot of points, and that's really going to bring the whole championship together, and that's going to bring even more pressure to the drivers to make sure they excel and they practice correctly. But, well, for Alex, so far, it doesn't seem to be too much trouble, Andrew, because, well, he's fastest so far.
Yeah, it looks like he's got something figured out. Fastest in practice, over Brian Zinn by 7/1000ths of a second. So 2 of our top 3 drivers from last week starting off on a great... Actually, the entire top 3 is the exact same so far in practice, because Agustin Castro is there in the 2nd position. So flip the top 3 around a little bit, and you've got the same top 3 in practice. Here's a look at Will Coffey in the number 57 car, working through the kink and headed down to the West Horseshoe. Joshua Benjamin, one of those drivers I talked about wanting to get a look at here, is 5th so far in practice. Of course, got that paint sorted out. Glad that we had his painter actually out in the chat last week and noticed that. He was able to fix that for this week. T. Gashburn is a driver I want to see a lot of today. Of course, for Samsoid Kanan Esports in that number 180. And currently 15th in practice. Some drivers on the other end of the spectrum, though, JP. You got to look at guys like Steven Grabowski, currently in 38th, Sean Patterson in 37th, and even Jeff Castillo in 39th. The bottom 3 of these practice standings so far, obviously they're looking to change things around, move things around, and work up that board in qualifying.
Oh, absolutely. Obviously, practice times don't really translate a lot. Obviously, we can assume that Persian, Zin, and Castro's lap times were set under draft conditions, so...
Yeah.
You know, we can just say, you know, it was the optimal lap at that time, and some of these guys may have just been doing laps by themselves to make sure that, you know, they have it set up for practice. So, you know, that 3-second gap that you can see might not translate at all into practice. So we're just going to have to wait and see in 25 seconds. And Andrew, something I just thought about it. You mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, today is February 22nd. So is it 22nd of the second month of the year in the year 2022? We're going to have 2 broadcasts. And on this broadcast, we're going to have 2 races, so kind of even more, for instance. So, yeah, the day of the twos, I guess.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In fact, I was thinking about that earlier. We had 4 races in BSR. I was trying to make a joke about that earlier, and it wasn't going to work because, you know, obviously 4 races. Look at you. Good eye there. Yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that we have 2 races here with NARL this evening. And, of course, now they have 2 series. So, I mean, how much longer can we work this up? Anyways, I do want to, when qualifying opens up here, we can actually get cameras out. There's a few things to highlight around this racetrack. Some updates have been made recently on the iRacing.com service. And I must say, iRacing always does a great job of trying to keep their tracks, updated, especially world-class venues like Daytona. One of those tracks to definitely, or one of those corners here to get a look at, obviously, is the new Le Mans corner, as it is called. But most importantly, rather, because of those tire barriers. Those are new, JP. If you recall back to when we had BSR here, and even SCAR some months ago, we did not have those tire barriers in the chicane. You can no longer bail through the bus stop chicane here at Daytona without having any kind of impact. That chicane will now punish you very, very much if you try to do so. You've got to do kind of the Le Mans thing. You know, the Le Mans chicanes, they've got those tire barriers to stack up, so you got to stake through them. Even Monza with the foam that's set out in the first chicane. Same deal here. You've got to weave through those tire barriers and hope you don't hit them.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to mention Le Mans because this really just, I guess just reminded me of it. So, yeah, it's a really great addition, as you mentioned, and it's really going to shake up a lot of the race. You know, some drivers obviously might miss it just to a mistake in the braking zone. Some others might be pushed off, but either way, with that barrier, it's really going to slow them down and force them to not take the shortcut that it is, just going straight line through the chicane.
And you can also see here, look at the rubber that's been laid down through practice. You know, the track state is carried over, and you can see that rubber carries all the way out to that outside wall, that safer barrier on the backstretch here. That's something to look at. That shows just how off kilter, maybe, just how bad these cars have handled so far today. And I know a lot of drivers were maybe asking for a little more rear wing in this setup for the amateur race. Of course, it is VRS supplied, and a big shout out to VRS and the other supporters of the series. We'll get to that in a moment, but you can see the rubber of guys spinning out in this corner and heading into the wall pretty hard. So that's something else to look at as drivers get on the racetrack for qualifying. Let's take a look at Alex Persian up on the banking and heading down to the tri-oval to begin his first flying lap.
So obviously his first flying lap, he was the winner last week. He didn't get pole. I think it was Agostini Castro who got pole, but he really wants to repeat the result that he had on the race last week. So we're just gonna have to wait and see if he has the pace to do it by himself, at least on qualifying.
See what he can do here. Of course, these drivers in single car qualifying here in the North American Racing League. It did confuse us last week, right? Because we get used to the BSR having open qualifying and the chaos that brings. I like this single car qualifying for the driver's sake anyways. We like chaos, but they don't, as, oh, Alex, very sideways there through the kink. I didn't know exactly how the cars were going to handle through the kink. Now we know. They're going to be sideways out there, at least in the opening laps. Obviously, they want to build as much tire temperature as they can here in these qualifying laps and set a nice lap on lap number 3 once some of the fuel is burned off. And the downside to burning fuel off in these cars, JP, is the nose then gets a little bit lighter and it gets harder to turn in. We'll see how that handles things throughout the day. Here's a look at Teague Ashburn heading back out of turn number 6 up onto the oval. And Todd Malek as well, one of the other Samsoid cars, not Samsoid Kanani Sports, but Samsoid Blue there for Todd Malek and Oceana Coffee. There's a lot of cars we can look at through this field, so we'll try and cycle through a good bunch of them. Here's Scott Angelo, Todd's teammate. Pierre Thompson is back out there. How about that? And in a Jeff Gordon paint scheme, no less.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so yes, it's a NASCAR Jeff Gordon paint scheme. I like that.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's a throwback to, I'm not quite sure what the year it is, but I do recognize the sponsor. So really nice to see him. Currently, he's on the part of the racetrack where you can kind of take a breather. You know, if you made a mistake throughout the lap, you can kind of just get your heartbeat slow down a little bit. You know, just ease a bit of that pressure. Just keep your pedal to the metal. And obviously, Andrew, having a one-car qualifying session like this, a lone qualifying session, I'm pretty sure he hit the wall right there. Obviously brings a brand new level of pressure to you because you just keep seeing those lap times on your relative box, and obviously you're, you know, just watching your lap time on your relative box. So it just brings a little bit of pressure. You know, will I be able to beat this guy? Will I be able to move up into the top 5? So it's kind of interesting as well from the driver's POV.
So amateur qualifying in full force. Here's a look at Thomas Baker in the 9th position, just ahead of Jean Karadec for Duckhawk Racing. And Jean had not a great way to get things started last week at Hockenheimring. We saw a good bit of Jean throughout the race, but I believe there was a spin early on or midway through the race that just kind of inhibited the 66 car's results. Max Tankerell in the number 14. A nice new Race Lab paint scheme. I think that's new. I don't recognize it off the bat. It looks somewhat similar, but I don't think that's what he ran last week at Hockenheimring. I like what's going on there regardless. Diego Era, of course, with his new sponsors aboard that GPVA number 77. Good to see more involvement from sponsors getting into this series.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think we mentioned it last week as well that we're going to see the progression of sponsors, you know, in the car, slowly just filling up each and every single team. So it's really nice to see it. And, well, Andrew, I'm kind of surprised of how close some of the field is. Obviously, we have a bit of separation between this guy, but we do have the packs close in together, don't we? Castro just 1.5 tenths ahead of Persian. And then you have, well, Cardozo just 3 tenths. But then we have like 2 guys just really close, a tenth of a second. And as more people start putting qualifying laps, that's really going to make it interesting to see. As the first mistake we saw in... Oh, that's the new driver as well. We were talking pre-race as well, one of the new entries.
Yeah, Mike Weir, brand new to the series. And unfortunately, not getting a great introduction here to qualifying. Here's Nicholas Sykes, looks like a teammate to Thomas Baker. Teague Ashburn, Andrew Rasmussen putting down some good lap times. Here's Rasmussen with the twisted colors aboard his number 11. Jeff Castillo and Dre, let me just... to be sure here, because we've actually got some pronunciations, and Dre was one of the others. Dre Divats. So, first name shortened down to Dre. That's what he said he would like, and Divats is what we learned there for the last name. So, big thank you to Divats and everybody else getting us the pronunciations that you have so far. We really do appreciate it. Jay Shallington is out there on the number 012, another one of those teammates too. It looks like, I forget the one we were just looking at, but Tom Baker was the one that I do recall. Dominic Turcotte is out there in the 15th position in qualifying and currently not moving. So that, he's not gotten 3 laps, and I think he's only gotten 2 laps down. Bobby Flack is out there in the number 22 car in the 18th spot. We'll see what he can do.
Yeah, currently just entering the first horseshoe. You can see 1.1 seconds behind the leader, so just trying to build that confidence. Oh, and gets a really big tank slapper, and unfortunately cannot control the car, so that might just do it for his qualifying attempt. You can see Brian Long right here, so unfortunately his lap time looks like it was also a mistake because he's 13 seconds away from the leader. So hopefully he can really improve that lap time. And Andrew, I just want to, well, get your eyes to the top of the standings. Only 22 thousandths of a second between our first and second place so far.
And it's the same top 3 as we had in order, finishing, well, at least in the top 3 last week at Hockenheimring at the end of the race, where Alex Persian won, and he goes even faster there, laying down a new purple lap. Brian Zinn, Agustin
Oh,
Castro,
there you
how
go.
about that to the top of the board? Agustin finished second last week in the race, and Brian Zinn finished third, but now Agustin Castro putting himself back on pole. How about that? Ilya Speaker's out there on the 03, and we have the weather out because you can see these guys are struggling, but it is not that hot out there. I'm actually kind of surprised we're seeing as many handling issues as we are, but these cars are pretty evil. They do go all over the place, so that's part of it. Billy Bowerman getting onto the racetrack. There's a look at the number 2 car for Empire. Empire. It's not esports, Empire Racing, I do believe there. Ryan Long has gone faster. I know we just saw him, and actually he just went up to the 28th spot. Johnny Jones is out there in 32nd. And qualifying is quickly coming to a close. Here's a look at Clarence Rosa. Just having laid down a time and going a little bit faster in 32nd. Dan Willis is out there for Moradness.
Looks like he might just be finishing. No, he's opening his lap. So this is going to be his, looks like, only qualifying attempt because we only have 1:20, Andrew. So this could be quite close in the clock as well because these guys, it's different than BSR, right? They don't have the overtime to finish their qualifying lap. So
because it's solo, they do not. You're right.
Yeah,
and
so
actually,
this is...
I don't think it's even because it's solo. I think it's because they're technically, this is a lapped qualifying. They get 3 laps, not unlimited. Yeah.
Yeah, so just 3 attempts. So this is his one and only shot. So pretty much a one-shot qualifying session for him. So hopefully he can set out a good lap time because obviously, you know, the further you start up in the front, the higher your chance to win. So
and he's not getting a lap in. He's about 16 seconds too short.
Oh, you think? Oh, no.
Yeah, because as he comes up to a minute here in 10 seconds, he's only going to have about 35 seconds to finish the lap, and we were turning we're turning 146s here in this qualifying session. Castro has the pole at a 146.11. Yeah, he's going to be well short of getting a lap in here. So, the slowest qualifier, it looks like, will be Mike Weir in the 34th spot, but what that means is he's ahead of 5 cars, which is pretty big, and you can see him. He's practicing standing starts. That is another big topic of concern amongst these drivers. Standing starts on the banking. Mike Weir getting some practice, and I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big challenge. We kind of got a preview of that with the BSR, obviously the MX-5 and the TCR. Obviously, these guys are not going to be front-wheel drive, so we're not going to see the... Yeah, we're not going to see the front, the top line just coming down into the bottom line. So, but it's still going to be very challenging to get these cars on a proper start, especially on the banking, on the high banking of the start-finish line. So it's really good to get some practice early on because you can definitely make up a lot of spots in the starts, especially on the Porsche.
So, starting on pole for your amateur race this evening, of course, we got 2 races, as was mentioned earlier, and as we had last week, in Agustin Castro, back on pole another week in a row in that number 014. Alex Persian will start from the 2nd position, and starting 3rd, you will find your other podium member from last week in Brian Zinn. Will Coffey starts from 4th. Teague Ashburn will roll off from the 5th spot. Diego Eda there in 6th. Andrew Rasmussen will start from 7th. Miguel Cardozo will start from 8th. And to round out your top 10, JP, it's Joshua Benjamin and Pierre Thompson.
11th place will go the way of Scott Angelo in the 168, in the 150 of Todd Malik on his outside. Jay Shallington in the 12 is going to start in the 13th place. All alongside him, the number 14 of Max Tancarel. 15th place will go to Jeff Castillo in the number 10 and the number 66 of Jean Cadillac in 16th. 17th, Armando Bejarwan in the 105 and the 03 of Elias Spicer on his outside. 19th place will go to Thomas Baker in the 307 and the number 73 of Dominic Turcotte.
Nicholas Sykes rolls off 21st. Dave Pickram in 22nd. William Valdez 23rd. 24th goes the way of Bobby Flack, and that is all we can get through tonight. 24 cars, except there's 15 more behind them. 39 cars, your entire field this evening for your amateur race. 30 minutes begins now. Oh, and already, everybody! Our pole sitter, Agustin Castro, and the Juncos Porsche there spinning. Massive accident. This is why drivers were practicing it. This is why everybody was so concerned about it. And obviously, most of the field managed it, but you've got to get those practice starts in. We'll let the rest of the field get this race, and they're already through the first horseshoe and working their way towards the kink now.
Yeah, towards the kink. The leaders are starting to go towards the kink. And Andrew, I take everything back at what I mentioned about the start. I thought the cars were not going to spin out just like we had the TCRs. Turns out they do. So unfortunately for them, a few drivers have been caught out by that. But, well, those that haven't, well, they benefited from it.
Yeah, a whole lot more horsepower in these cars. as Ilya Speaker has an issue here on the inside of the kink. Look at the field going up by. That is a horrible feeling. To have to be in the grass there, and you've got to be so careful rejoining, and you've got the entire field going by, and there's several more. You're already down in the 30s. This is a terrible feeling, and Ilya's just going to go ahead and tow. So, back up front, up onto the banking for the first time. Brian Zinn, now your race leader over Alex Persian. Alex got a good start, but it looks like Brian Zinn got a better start.
Yeah, got a better so far leading. This is going to be the question we had in on pre-race. How hard will these guys race? Not only on the first few laps, but also throughout the race. Do they want track position? Do they want to stick behind and just apply some pressure? For the lead, it's going to be a different story than for the rest of the field, but I'm definitely intrigued to see what they have in store for us.
Man, these cars are moving 165, 170, and getting faster here is Brian Zinn as he's got a challenge to the outside. Here comes Alex Persian to lead lap 1. Can Alex get it across the line? Yes, he does, by the slimmest of margins. And we've got ourselves a race for the lead.
Absolutely. We have 2 chrome cars with red, I guess you can say, red accents on it. So Brian Zinn so far leads.
Rasmussen.
Oh, looks. Rasmussen got really loose on the exit of turn 1. He saves the car and, well, loses a bit of positions, but I'm pretty sure he'll take those positions lost over totaling that car, Andrew. But, wow, looks like the tires are not really up to go. And yes, unfortunately, a crash on the exit of the horseshoe.
Joshua Benjamin with a spin there. Wow. What a way to get things started.
Absolutely. This is an interesting start of the sessions. I guess you can definitely say that. Unfortunately for a few, looks like William Valdez as well is back on the pit lane. The number 03 as well, we mentioned at the end. Not even at the end, at the halfway point of lap number 1. Aubrey Kundal as well looks like he's leaving his pit box right now. So, unfortunately, Andrew, a few drivers already with problems by the end of lap 1.
And Trey Divac as well, leaving the pit lane in 34th spot. Yeah, what a way to get things started here at Daytona. Let's go back up front. Brian Zinn, Alex Persian down to the bus stop. Here we go. Down the Daytona super stretch, Persian uses that speed and that draft to get on by, and whoa, Teague Ashburn closed right into the bus stop. Now, that curb, that sausage curb, has been taken out of the bus stop here as, oh, look at that, already having some disagreement about getting back up onto the oval. And look at this, Agustin Castro is back into the 4th spot. I'm not sure that I ever expected that, and you can see our leaders dueling again.
Yeah, the leaders are dueling. They're bringing this battle as well up to them. So it's really going to help Agostini Castro and Teague Ashburn as well to bring that battle closer. And as you can see, Brian Zinn eager to get that track position back, eager to get that run back, sets the fast lap of the race, gets overshadowed by Agostini Castro. But this battle is not going anywhere, Andrew, so far. I'm pretty sure they're going to be doing this so far. Oh, and look at that. Too wide into turn number 1. Teague retains that position for the time being, but Agostini Castro has the inside line for the horseshoe. And it looks like he's going to be getting that position. And Rasmussen as well, capitalizing on it and moving up to 4th place.
So drop Ashburn back into 5th. Battles everywhere. Battles. That's what we're going to be talking about all day long. Here's a nice little battle going to the kink now. This is everything behind our race leaders. So 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. All the way back through Todd Malik and even Scott Angelo just a little further back. And that'll complete your top 10. You can see Tankerell's in this. Shallington is battling there with Pierre Thompson. Good battles up front.
Good battles. Unfortunately, obviously, for these guys, they lost a bit of contact with the front group, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be eager to get it back. Maybe if they work together, they can reel in a bit of the gap. But look, talking about gaps, Andrew, 0.6 of a second already Persian build up from Zinn. That's quite a big gap to build at Daytona. Obviously, we talked about it as well. It's really hard to break away, but, you know, if you can build up 6-7 of a second in the infield section, lap after lap, eventually you're going to break away.
That's what they're trying to do. We've had an issue, though. Further back, Jay Shallington, actually, not so much an issue, but he's lost a spot. Shallington drops back behind Tankerell. You can see more battles coming on through. There's Jean Karadek for Duck Hawk Racing rolling on through the bus stop. This is a good look at how this field is sorted out. A lot of the gaps throughout this field have really changed the way I think the rest of this race is going to go for everybody. I mean, almost 40 cars, and they're all very much split up around this racetrack. Not what I expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of everything just happened even before turn 1, and then obviously after the first horseshoe as well. So it was really early on the first lap that they got kind of separated by it. which is kind of unfortunate, but it's gonna highlight again a few of those battles for positions. Like you can see the top 4, you can see Larry Rasmussen looks like making yet another mistake in the horseshoe. So unfortunately for him, that might just cost him the contact with the top 3.
Todd Malik and Scott Angelo starting to do some battle up here with some of these guys, and Mike Braun and Dan Willis. Here's a good little battle into the International Horseshoe. Mike Braun in an all-white car this week. I don't think that's right, as Clarence Rosa goes wide there for Empire Racing, losing a spot to one of his teammates. Oh, and one car. You see that? The firewall deep in the International Horseshoe. I think they've already towed. That might have been Grabowski, and yes, it was Grabowski. So already, a lot of danger around this entire racetrack, JP. It seems like no matter who you are, where you are, you cannot hide.
Oh, absolutely not. And well, we're only 7 minutes into the race, so plenty of things yet to happen. Obviously, plenty of battles still to cover, plenty of miles to be driven. So it's very, very far from over. As you can see, even more battles coming down to the bus stop. That's the 118 of Pierre Thompson just making his way through Teague Ashburn. And well, he got the position for now, but Teague is definitely going to have... well, no, that's Tankerl right behind him. I apologize. So he's going to have the slipstream right back, and this is the power of the slipstream, Andrew. We all know how powerful it is, but look at the speed difference.
Tankerl's going to make a move to the outside as we have another battle for the race lead. We're going to see this throughout the course of the day. Remember, we talked about it before we got going. If there was a breakaway of a few cars, they might leapfrog a little bit in battle, but it certainly would not be follow the leader, at least not in this amateur race. And here we go. The top 3 from last week getting back in order, doing battle, and they've brought Rasmussen and Ashburn.
Absolutely, they got right back into this racing. As you can see now, the number 23 and the numbers 14 as well battling. We saw Castro going down the inside of Zin into turn number 1, which was really opportunistic from Castro right there, I should say. But unfortunately, he ended up losing the position in the International Horseshoe. So that gap kind of builds itself up again. And Andrew, this is, as you mentioned, just like last week, is this what's going to be for the season? The top 3 battling lap after lap, race after race?
I hope so, because I certainly don't mind it. No complaints here to have these guys doing these leapfrogs and passes on the banking. I wouldn't even mind Daytona every week. That might be a little biased, but I certainly wouldn't mind this kind of racing week in, week out. So Scott Reister, get on it. I wouldn't mind this. Lap number 5 now for these guys. It feels like we've already had a whole endurance race. Maybe not 24 hours worth, but it feels like we've already had quite a lot of racing, and we're only on the 5th lap of racing. And you can see this top 5 is broken away by 6 some odd seconds back to Pierre Thompson. It's a large gap.
Oh yeah, it's an absolute large gap. Obviously, if they're just hopping in front of one another, they're not really slowing themselves down, so it's just really helping them to get those fastest laps, get faster laps in the competition. So that's really good. As you saw that Tankerl going back past Thompson, is now we're on board with Malik, trying to get past those 2, Andrew. But as soon as you get into the slipstream train, it's kind of hard to make up ground on the car directly ahead of you. Obviously, the car that's punching the air is going to be losing a lot of speed compared to you two, but just look at the speed difference that Malik has over Thompson and Tankerl. We should see a 3-wide situation before turn 1.
Looks like Malik went ahead and lifted. Certainly a good decision here. We're going to see this every single lap. Leaders are going to do some battle. We're going to see some different opportunities into turn 1. This is just how it's going to go here at Daytona. It's how it always goes. As a little bit of company there from teammate Angelo for Malik. The Samsoid driver is getting after it.
I'm pretty sure they're going to be helping each other, but at least trying to get past Thompson and Tankerl. Maybe just leading that second group that we saw. We have even more battling, as it looked like, on the International Horseshoe. As you can see, a few drivers trying to go side by side. But Andrew, obviously this is, I guess you can kind of say this is a sprint race and the Pro is going to be the feature race. So, I mean, should we expect drivers to go at it since lap 1, or do you think like the top 3, like let's say Castro, even you saw Malik, are they just holding back for those final few laps to really pounce on the attack?
You know, I wish I could tell you. There's just so many unknowns about this series. It's going to take us a while to learn. You know, we've had a few seasons now of GT3 racing to learn these guys and their tendencies, but a lot of unknowns, as even Alex Persian has dropped back to 4th, taking an outside look here at Rasmussen for the bus stop. Ryan Zinn is now your race leader, Castro 2nd. I do want to mention, I see a lot of you guys chiming in from Guto's stream. And, you know, Guto reached out. Guto Carvalho, one of the, I guess, more popular streamers out of Brazil, reached out about kind of a Portuguese stream of this series. And JP, I'm sure you identify with that right away, as you are our, Portuguese speaker. You handle all those interviews, and By all means, we couldn't do it without you. But it seems like a lot of these guys tuning in from Guto, and we certainly appreciate that. And we look forward to seeing what we can do with Guto in the future, and just a little bit of cooperation there. We do have a nice little pass for the race lead once again. Castro around the outside, and this is the onboard look from Persian's point of view. And JP, when you have all of this happening, it's really tough to manage yourself as a driver, not to make a little slip up and maybe go sliding through the guy in front of you. You've got to pace yourself so much, and it's just so tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you have two wide situations like this, especially if drivers battling, just for position ahead of you, you just have to be aware of so many situations. Like, for example, are they going to make contact? Where is my braking zone? Where's my turn-in zone? Where are they braking? Are they going a bit early? Should I attack one of them, or should I just hold back and wait for a better opportunity? So there's a lot of things going on in your head, and you just have to keep yourself focused because, as you mentioned, it's just so easy to, make a mistake, lock up the tires, miss your braking point at one point, and as soon as you do that, especially on a track like this, it's just really hard to get it back. So you really have to be cautious, but you have to be aggressive at the same time. It's just an interesting balance, isn't it?
It really is, and it's something you never really ever get right. Some drivers, I think, get it down to almost a science, but nobody's ever perfect. As here we go, another side-by-side battle for 6th. Tankerell and Thompson. Tankerell's going to drop, actually, Thompson's going to drop in behind Tankerell, maybe have a look back onto the banking here. I guess onto the Daytona Super Stretch, had a look to the outside. Tankerell's going to go ahead and take that spot. Thompson backs out. And you've still got Todd Malik right off the back end of Thompson's machine. And I think these guys back here, JP, they seem to know the situation they're in, right? They know they're not racing for a race win, but if the guys ahead start to race like they're racing for a race win, because there's still over 15 minutes to go, over half of the race left. So if those guys up front have a mistake, have a crash, they know they can pick up spots, so they know they don't need to battle just yet. They can swap spots, leapfrog, and use the draft to their advantage, but they don't need to battle too hard just yet, as Agustin Castro around the outside was a bit slow there through turn 1. So this is what I'm talking about. These little battles where these guys have little slip-ups up front, that's what the guys behind want.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to drop too far back. You can see, as you mentioned, the gap is still stationary around 6-7 seconds between the first and second group, but you don't really want to, just keep battling like, oh, okay, the race for the win is over. Might as well race, as hard as I can for, let's say, 6th or 7th place. So just try to help one another. As you mentioned, we're just approaching the second part of the raceway. So it's really a long time to go still, so you can kind of help each other out and hope for the best. Obviously, with 5 minutes to go, if you're not catching up, you start really battling, you start holding track position or attacking. So it's an interesting, I guess you can say, mentality for the drivers. As you can see now, Sean Patterson trying to get a good enough exit out of the horseshoe, but unfortunately couldn't as they approach the kink. And we saw a few drivers getting loose on the qualifying session, and it looks like a few of them, just like Sean Patterson, are taking a little bit easy through it.
Yeah, I want to say as the tires heat up, it'll help you, but as the tires wear out, it'll work against you. So it's something you've got to balance, and especially on a daytime racetrack like this, you've got to be so careful. When the track is baking a little bit, it's still not warm. Compared to the weather, it's still not that hot. 80 degrees Fahrenheit is not that bad, but it is warmer. And you know what? That east wind might be part of it, even. That's coming off of the ocean. Well, no, if it's going east, that's not out of the ocean. I got to think. That's going towards the ocean. So that's sweeping across more or less from the front stretch to the back stretch, JP, of the oval. That's a weird crosswind to try and deal with here.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of know how sensible these cars are, and without a bit of crosswind, it might not make too much of a difference, but it could definitely, be interesting, let's say. You can get a gust of wind, you can get, something that could upset the car. And once these cars are upset, we saw a bit in qualifying, Andrew, it's really hard to get it back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not easy to save one of these cars if they start to get away from you. We do want to keep checking in on those battles throughout the field. We were just looking at Joshua Benjamin there getting a pass made on the banking, but these guys up front keep going after it. And just in case they wreck, we don't want to miss that, do we, JP? This is what gets so tough about these packed races like this. When you have 30, 40 cars, there's battles everywhere, and it's so tough to decide. This is back up front, though. Alex Persian has not re-ascertained that lead, if you will. Still third, and oh! Look at that drift. That is something you don't see much out of Porsche Cup cars. When you get sideways like that, you're often along for the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good save for him. Just a bit of throttle modulation, maybe a bit of brake as well to try and get the car back. Obviously, he's going to fall under pressure from Agostini Castro. Looks like not quite just now, so maybe thinking about the long game, it looks like he doesn't really want the track position right now, so just happy to stick behind Persian, you know, happy to bide his time and just wait, because we saw Persian and Rasmussen going for it, you know, on the infield section and allowing Brian Zen to really get away. That gap was around 0.8 of a second on the infield. So these guys are not afraid to battle, even though it means losing a bit of touch with the leader, because they know how powerful the slipstream is. Just, well, talking about battling, there we go. Are we going to see 3 wide for the lead, Andrew?
Not quite. Maybe, though. Brian Zinn gets over in front of Persian and makes sure to snuff that one out. Persian right behind the 11 of Rasmussen, and that's 3 wide for second for a moment. There was a bit of overlap there between each 3 of them. They get that sorted out. Let's fall back to Angelo and Tankerel here as Angelo takes 6th spot away. Tankerel falls back into 7th, and look at this. Pierre Thompson, Todd Malik doing battle. Oh, and Todd Malik's going to go for a spin, and just a little bit of contact there. That is not what you want to see for driver 150, and now the 10th position. He's going to fall back a ways. Joshua Benjamin, Armando Bejaron, they swap positions once more. Benjamin back in front now. Look at Billy Bowerman joining them in.
Billy just closing in that gap, just waiting for something to happen between these two. Just, again, biding his own time. Still 13 minutes to go. Still plenty of racings, as you can see now. William Coffey just chasing Diego Aire. This is a battle that we're kind of used to seeing, aren't we, Andrew?
Yeah.
You know, these two going at it from the previous season as well. So I'm pretty sure they know how to race one another. So this could get interesting as well, as we do have, looks like Mike Braun spun out on the exit of the horseshoe. Is that it? Yes.
Yeah, the International Horseshoe. And there go Era and in Coffey. So problems there for Mike Braun. He gets back rolling. Here's a look at William Coffey chasing Diego Eda into the West Horseshoe. They were racing for 25th and 26th. They're now racing for 24th and 25th. And I know that sounds maybe a little dismal, but that's actually pretty decent, all things considered, when you have that kind of start and you've got just a massive race cars there across the entire tri-oval at Daytona. And it is 18 degrees of banking. It's no easy feat starting from a standstill at Daytona, as it looks like Diego Eda going to go to the inside of Sean Patterson. So 3 drivers we're used to seeing here in a row, 4 if you count Mike Braun. But given the circumstances, being in the about 22nd, 23rd spot like these guys are, that's pretty good.
Absolutely. Obviously, avoiding a lap 1 instead of waiting to get your race ended. Obviously, a lot of drivers were going to be cautious. And we had a few more instances.
Oh, Milan Harris has a problem.
Oh, no. It looks like on the exit of the bus stop as well. We saw a few drivers in qualifying having that issue. So I wonder, did he go too wide? Because he's just trying to get back on the banking. And unfortunately, is that a bit of damage as well? So yes, it is.
Left rear damage, right front damage. Kind of weird corners of the car to get damaged here. It's a lot of damage for car number 69 of Milan Harris, now dropping into the 25th position. I know we've got some of the fans of that team out in the chat. Rough start there for Milan in his stint here with the North American Racing League. William Love out here. Oh, problems. Out of turn number 1 through the S's. Clarence Rosa, and oh, you can't go across the racetrack like that. I'm not sure if that was Sean Patterson or Clarence Rosa that came across. It all happened very quickly, but you cannot cross the racetrack like that. It's something you learn as an amateur, but you cannot do that. We'll get a look at it here. This is Clarence Rosa. Joshua Benjamin to the inside. Now, how does this work out? Rosa maybe gets a little loose. Yep, gets a little loose on exit.
And then just
comes across in front of Diego Eda and catches Sean Patterson. So that was Rosa that came across. And I'm sorry, but you can't do that. That's exactly what happens when you get in a rush like that. To get back out of the way, you often get in the way. I mean, and it's so tough as well, because it's usually a driver with the best of intentions. You know, they're trying to get out of the way, but you have to just hold still. When you're in a jeopardized position like that, you have to just hold still. Hold the brakes here. Don't cross, because you've got cars coming. And yeah. Oh, that was Will Coffey that got smashed, actually. That wasn't even Diego. I thought that was Diego, but no, that was William Coffey.
And one more thing also, at that point, Clarence Rosa didn't have a total car, and unfortunately, due to that bad rejoin, unfortunately, the race is over. So sometimes that little bit of a rush, trying to get back on the race as quickly as possible, just as quickly, it can end your race. So you just really have to buy your time, just keep your eyes on the relative, maybe just try to flick the car using the wheel spin, but never rejoining the path of a lot of the cars, especially on the tightest part of the race course.
Yeah, the S's are a very weird spot. There's no runoff, because you are committed. You are looking left and you are turning left, and yes, you can dive out to the grass, but if there's a car heading that way, where are you going to go to the left, right? Because there's that pit wall, and that's, yeah, it's just not a good place to have that. We're back up front with the race leaders, though. Teague Ashburn is starting to fall back a little bit, JP. Not something I would have expected. But as our leaders come back to the bus stop here, side by side, Zinn and Persian, Ashburn has fallen back.
Yeah, falling back, but this few battles right here is really gonna help him get it. You can see the gap is around 1 second between him and Rasmussen, so it's kind of what he needs, and he needs this for the top 4 to be battling amongst each other. They need him to go side by side during the braking zones, because as soon as 2 drivers are side by side, the back of them are gonna be cautious, trying to look out for any mistakes. But look at the run that everybody got right here. We're gonna see, are we gonna see 3 wide?
That
Looks like
wide.
Castro. Yeah, Castro just trying to be a little bit cautious, but almost went 3 wide. Now Rasmussen is pretty much has the best spot in the house to watch that battle. As you can see, Zinn and Persian. Zinn is going to have the lead so far. You can see Rasmussen now got a perfect lineup to try and take 3rd place away from Castro, but Castro has the inside line to the
Alex
horseshoe.
Persian, with a mistake under braking into the international horseshoe, ditches that car into the grass and into the tire barrier, and the Flying Lizard 79 has a lot of problems.
Unfortunately for him, that might be his chance of back-to-back victory. Just gone like that to a mistake of his own, I guess. I don't think he was pushed out of the racing course.
That certainly is just a small mistake there by Alex Persian into the braking zone. Let's go on board. And actually, this should show us. We should see the lights on the dash light up. He definitely chattered the brakes, whether it's the rears or the fronts. I'm curious. Will it show us? Not quite, but you can hear it, and you can see the wheel response there. Problem, certainly.
Yeah, he definitely outbraked himself, and at the moment that he realized, he just, sent the car to the left to avoid a collision. So, good sport for him, and unfortunately, that's going to cost his chance of a race victory, and now has a damaged car for the remaining 7 minutes of the race, and that leaves, Andrew, only 4 cars on the lead battle, so... From 5 to 4, and unfortunately, it's our last week's race winner.
He just wanted to come say hello to our cameraman, that's all.
Oh, okay, there we go. Just waving.
He does drop into 5th position. Loses a spot to, well, everybody, of course, in that front group, and is going to have company here very, very shortly. Scott Angelo, Max Tankerell, Pierre Thompson, Jay Shallington, Todd Malik, the rest of the top 10. They're going to pay him a visit very, very soon as the leaders are getting back at it. Let's go back up front. Brian Zinn, Agustin Castro. Oh, and contact there!
A bit of contact.
Agustin just barely clips him, and Brian goes around.
Oh, that was a really, really small contact then. Well, massive implications. So unfortunately for Brian Zinn, that's his spun around, and that's him back in 4th place.
So Agustin Castro is now the only of the top 3 that finished in the top 3 last week. So, we had a very similar looking front pack, and that has since completely changed. Really, it's been these 2 cars up front, Rasmussen and Agustin Castro, that have been so good. Teague Ashburn has been just hanging in the balance and suddenly has a chance at a podium.
Could this be a curse? The top 3 cannot finish in the top 3?
Oh, don't say that. Castro's not going to like that.
Oh, definitely not.
Oh, deep there for Rasmussen. Doesn't hit anything, but that was close.
Yeah, that was extremely close to him. Luckily, he's going to have a good enough run to just, stick with Agostini Castro for the time being, but that was a wake-up call. That was an innocent mistake that could happen to anyone, and luckily for him, did not finish his race.
Back up onto the Daytona Superstretch. Agustin Castro first, Andrew Rasmussen second, Teague Ashburn third. Brian Zinn has fallen back a little ways to these guys, but is in his own pocket. He might be able to stay ahead of the guys behind. He might lose time to the guys behind. We'll see. I do want to highlight a battle further back, though, before we don't have a chance to do so anymore. Joshua Benjamin, Mike Braun here. This is for 20th position, so to break into the top 20 and just about the top half of the field. And also Jeff Castillo and Dominic Turcotte. How about these guys? Dominic 12th, Jeff Castillo 10th. This is kind of that third group, and a really good battle between the 10 and 73.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a good battle just outside of the top 10. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to come out on top with only 4 minutes and 40 injured. This is going to be like the last lap dash. As you can see, Turcotte going down the inside, having that momentum. He's going to also have the inside line into turn number 1, so that should favor him, at least for this lap. So he's going to assume 11th position. And yeah, so he's going to stay there. But I assume these drivers are just going to be switching positions each and every single lap until we get the white flag. And, well, that's when it all matters.
This is now lap 15 of 17, so 3 laps to go as of these drivers passing the start-finish line. On board now with Alex Persian, who has dropped into the 8th spot, and heartbreak certainly, but heartbreak brought on by himself. Just made a mistake. And it did the right thing, though, to ditch the car into the grass and not take out Brian Zinn. That is always a very sportsmanlike move, and certainly like to see that. If you're going to be in that situation for Alex Persian, like to see that he's going to, think of the others as opposed to just himself, and send the car off into the grass and keep others' races alive. Like that. We don't like that he's in the wall, but we like that he ditched the car to not hit anybody.
Yes, I guess we can say we like the reason he ended up in the wall, I guess.
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll have to work on it. We'll have to work on it a little bit. Here's Diego with a problem out of the West Horseshoe.
Oh. Maybe just pun the tires around, and we saw plenty of that. No, that's the second horseshoe, so that's maybe a mistake on braking, maybe. I don't think it is, but...
that was likely chattering the rears on acceleration.
Yes, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, if it had been under braking, he would have probably ended up on the outside of the West Horseshoe, but that was the inside in that grass. That's likely just having whatever issue under acceleration there. He drops into now the 21st position, so where Joshua Benjamin and Mike Braun were battling for 20th, they're now battling for 19th, and Diego Eda is some ways back. Tankerell and Thompson doing some battle up ahead. They are on to the penultimate lap 16 of 17, which means our leaders are as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So only a few laps. Oh, that's
unfortunate.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's big damage as well.
Bit of that right front damage for Turcotte. And he's going to drop out of that battle for 11th with Jeff Castillo. Dave Pickram now going to join in that battle. Dan Willison behind, and Bobby Flack as well. So Dominic Turcotte drops down to 15th.
And with a lot of damage, unfortunately, to him. Luckily, it's only a few laps to go. And, well, only a few laps to go for Rasmussen to try to close into Agostini Castro, because once he got past Rasmussen, well, he's essentially built up a gap, Andrew. We thought this was, well, very unlikely to happen, but, well, the number 14 did it.
Yeah. Agostini Castro running a really, really good race here. Teague Ashburn has since dropped off, and I think the tires have worn out. And we saw this at Hockenheim, didn't we? Where even in this 30-minute race, it seems like the tires wear just enough to have this drop-off and have the separation of drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes the tires are just going to drop off, or they're going to overheat. Something can happen. And, well, luckily for Rasmussen, you can see a bit of the slipstream reeling him back in around 0.5 of a second. You can see just really closing in. The closing speed is just massive. But looks like on the infield, the number 14 just has a little bit more pace. So it should help him as we enter the white flag.
White flag presented by Whiplash Simcams. Just over 1 minute left to go in this race. Scott Angelo doing a battle here to the line with Pierre Thompson. 1 lap to go for the entire field. Now Angelo going to give that spot up under braking, but take it back maybe at the corner. Yes, he does. Pierre Thompson could not hang around the outside. The Jeff Gordon paint is helping him a little bit, I think, but maybe not enough, at least into the braking zone. Oh, Angelo. That was a very aggressive defense there into the International Horseshoe, but it works.
Yeah, it works, but unfortunately for Angelo, he's going to be, well, ahead of Pierre Thompson as we head into the oval section of the race course, so that could be interesting. What is also interesting, Andrew, is this gap, around 0.6 of a second. We saw that this gap is enough. It's just enough to reel him in, so, I mean, do you want to be the guy behind, or do you want to be the guy in front? Do you want a track position, or do you want the chance to just slipstream your way to the front? I'm not quite sure which one I would choose.
Well, I just saw one telling sign of this battle. Rasmussen could not get the power down to 6. He got the power down, but had to straighten the wheel out a lot. He was definitely trying to modulate that throttle and try and be very, very safe there. One car, it looks like a puff of smoke, and crashing just ahead of these guys. Well, let that be. Another car with issues up here, slow out of the bus stop. Rasmussen very close to a slowdown there, but he's still in the draft. This is your battle for the amateur race win. One car high. And Rasmussen, I think, is definitely trying to modulate that, or he's waiting on an opportunity as they'll pass one of their teammates. Agostini Castro onto the apron to defend. Rasmussen trying to time a run. And to the start-finish line, what's it going to be? Castro with the race win.
Just 61 thousandths between them, so unfortunately Rasmussen's strategy just did not work. Brian Zinn sets the fastest lap of the race in 4th place, just behind T. Gashburn. As you can see, even more drivers finishing. Parrot Thompson's going to finish in 5th place, ahead of Alex Persian. And Max Tenkara is going to finish in 8th, ahead of Malik and Shellington. So, well, an interesting race, Andrew. I really did like, as you can see, even more battles. It looks like nearly a photo finish as well, further back.
That was Dan Willis all the way onto the apron. He finishes 12th behind Jeff Castillo in 10th. Or 11th, rather. Mike Weir will come across the line next in car number 20. That'll be good for 16th. There he comes across the line. Armando Bejaran next up. There he goes. Actually, no. Here he comes. There we go. Across the line with that green nose. A lot of lap cars got mixed in here. In fact, we had, let's see, 28th through 36th. Still running, but 1 lap down. And even William Coffey, 5 laps down. Steven Grabowski, 14 laps down. And Johnny Jones, 17. As the rest of the field comes across, looks like Thomas Baker will be next up. There he goes. No, Thomas Baker should be the next car. White and blue across the line. Then William Love and Aubrey Kundle. Aubrey with a very, very poor turnaround today, unfortunately. Have to wonder if he was involved in the mayhem at the start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was lap number 2 or 3. We saw him just diving into the pit lane, so it was compromised really early on. Which is really unfortunate. Obviously, you know, having a race compromised on the first lap is just heartbreaking, essentially, after all the practice that I'm pretty sure each and every single driver put in. But, you know, that's racing. Sometimes it just happens.
That is definitely one way to put it. I like that. Sometimes it just happens. So, 30 minutes of racing then done for the NARL Amateurs here in the Porsche Cup season. The first season of its sort as well. It's been fantastic so far. 2 really good races in this AM division. Let's check out race 1's results with the amateur race results. Agustin Castro, really solid finish there. Well, certainly a solid finish with the win and just a really good race. Obviously, Rasmussen made it close, but not close enough. Ashburn goes and takes 3rd, so that's your podium. We'll see if maybe they can dominate at Long Beach next week. Brian Zinn there in 4th, Pierre Thompson. Alex Persian drops down to 6th. And you see Scott Angelo, Max Tankerell, Todd Malik, and Jay Shallington wrap up your top 10.
11th place goes the way of Jeff Castillo, ahead of Dan Willis in 12th place. 13th place goes the way of Dave Pickern. Bobby Flack in 14th place, Dominic Turcotte in 15th, Mike Weir in 16th, Armando Bejaran in 17th, Jean Caradak in 18th place, Diego Area in 19th, and Joshua Benjamin in 20th place.
Finishing 21st, you'll find car 107 of Mike Braun. Milan Harris finishes 22nd. Miguel Cardozo there in 23rd. Then it's Tom Baker, Will Love, Aubrey Kundle, 24 through 26. Sean Patterson there, 27th is your final car on the lead lap. Then you get back to Dre Divatz there in 28th. Nicholas Sykes, 29th. And Brian Long, 30th. All sticking in the race, so I admire that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just nice to see those guys sticking up. 31st place goes the way of Robert Guadagnoli. Elias Speaker is going to finish in 32nd place. Billy Bowerman in 33rd. Daniel Harris in 34th. William Valdez in 35th. Clarence Rosa in 36th. William Coffey, 37th. Unfortunately, 5 laps down. Stefan Grabowski in 38th place. Unfortunately, 14 laps down. And Johnny Jones in 39th. Unfortunately, Andrew, 17 laps down.
So 39 cars in total. That's how they break down after 30 minutes of racing. But JP, we're going to turn up the wick here in a second. We're going to go for 50 minutes of racing with pros and pro-am drivers. And it's going to be good. It is going. If you thought this first race was good, this is going to be a whole lot better. Of course, we're going to have that fuel strategy to have to worry about. That's going to change things up a bit, but I really think we're going to see a lot more action in this next race. I see a lot more action. Maybe not a lot more, maybe not all that different, but really, really good action nonetheless here with these pros and pro-ams. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Stick on with us here through this quick intermission. We will be right back for our second race on the evening here on Tuesday, February 22nd. Welcome back to the virtual Daytona International Speedway, the world center of racing. There aren't too many more ways to go ahead and describe it than that, JP. I think just that tagline, world center of racing, so proudly embellished on their tower at the start-finish line. I think that sums it up pretty nicely. Just about everything races here. I think the only thing we could use that they don't already have is Formula One, and we've seen Ferrari take a car around here before, but I think that's about the only thing we're waiting on to add to Daytona and Daytona's legacy. Of course, NASCAR has raced here for eons. NASCAR is why Daytona was born. You've had IMSA racing here for so many years, and the 24-hour race for even longer. You've had such a long stock car history, sports car history, a supercross history, MotoGP, maybe not MotoGP, but motorcycle racing at least. I need to check my facts there probably, but you have supercross races in the infield here at Daytona. There's so much that happens, so much that races. Karts race here. Yes, go-karts race here, both up on the road course and on a small dirt track outside of Turn 1. It's insane how much has gone on at Daytona and within the areas of Daytona. Just a short ways away, you have a great short track in the form of New Smyrna Speedway, and even just a little further away from that, you've got Volusia Speedway, a fantastic dirt track. There's so much that goes on in and around Daytona. It earns the tagline of World Center of Racing, and tonight we've got one of the best race cars in the world, the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, the 992 edition. It is a fantastic car, JP, and we've seen that this season already.
Oh, absolutely. It's regarded in the iRacing community as one of the best cars, if not the best car that iRacing provides for us to race. And obviously, it's in the hand of some of the best drivers we have on the sim, Andrew, as well. And obviously, they're just waiting for their time to shine here on the second round. First round at Hockenheim was absolutely amazing. And Daytona is just going to be more the same, but looks like the weather is, vastly different than what we had on race number 1.
Yeah, much like we talk about with British sim racers, we've got a big weather change in store for this race. You can see a lot of clouds have moved in. It's a little bit later in the day, and you can see the temperature as well is very, very low. That track temp has dropped about 12 degrees from the amateur race, so much better conditions as far as getting power to the ground in the rear end of these race cars for each of these drivers, and there are a lot of them. 39 just like we had in the amateur race, so it seems like we're keeping things consistent at the very least, although we are bringing in that extra class of Pro-Ams. Qualifying now on the way. Your double-digit car numbers, keep that in mind, your double-digit car numbers will be your pros, your triple-digit car numbers will be your Pro-Ams, and of course, as you see here, those are defined by blue versus purple. It looks like Andres didn't load for some reason, but of course, double-digit means that he is a pro. So, qualifying then, JP, how's this going to sort out?
This is going to be really interesting. It's kind of hard to say.
It's kind of cloudier. It looks like it's much later in the day as well. This almost looks... I can't tell if this is morning or evening right now.
This is a really interesting setting for the race, I guess you can say. You can see a bit of clouds, but it's also blue sky, so it's going to be interesting to see how the track develops. But first into qualifying, I'm not quite sure how to answer your question. I don't know. It's just gonna be weird. It's just gonna have to wait and see for 9 minutes for these guys to put up 3 lap times. Obviously, we do have a few experts, not only in the 24 hours of Le Mans, but also on the sim, Tony Kanaan. We're just gonna have to wait and see what he can do all by himself.
I also want to look to somebody by the name of Samsoid, David Sampson, up onto the banking here in turns 1 and NASCAR 1 and 2 anyway. I think Paulo Goday will be interesting to watch. We saw a lot out of Lawrence Zavadil last week as well. Matthew Dench was always fun to watch in the number 83 car. A new team. You might recognize that livery, JP. 5-Star Motorsport has an entry now in the North American Racing League, really bringing the BSR ties here at PitStopTV, along with the NARL ties, very, very close and much more realistic. This is cool to see. I saw that the team name had changed to 5-Star Motorsport. I thought I recognized that. I thought it seemed a little familiar. But yeah, now you can see that is the same livery that Jason Cooper took to a championship earlier today in the British Sim Racers Trophy Tuesdays. If you missed that, after tonight's NARL action, after tonight, you want to go back and watch that. They were at Bathurst today.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. And you know what this is, Andrew? This is the multiverse of sim racing. I thought this livery was so familiar, and then you mentioned 5-Star. I was like, yeah. So that's an upgrade from the small MX-5s that we had at BSR, but it looks really, really good on the Porsche as well, doesn't it?
It really does. It really, really does. You can't see it from the inside of the car, though. as he begins his first time lap. Up through the gears towards the International Horseshoe. Back down to third. Does he drop into first here? No. Stays in second. I think that's going to be the way to go. Especially with as much as we've seen these guys getting loose.
Yeah, absolutely. This could be a play on qualifying. Obviously, on pace, we might just see drivers darting into first gear. Oh, getting kind of loose on the kink. So that was quite hard for him. That definitely got his heart racing. But we should see some drivers drop it into first gear, especially on the race, just to get that engine braking, to get the nose tucked in, but quickly upshift into second. We have a few extra cars already on the banking. That's going to be the number 6 as well from the Samsoy team. So,
well, that is Samsoy.
Looks like. Oh, that is Samsoy Dog, right? So there we go. So David Sampson looks like he's approaching the bus stop chicane. So he could be the first driver to set a lap time, Andrew, if I'm not mistaken.
May not be the first. There's a lot of drivers in this series, and in fact, it looks like it might be M. Taki that sets the lap time first. But while these guys qualify, JP, I'm going to turn things over to you and our amateur winner, actually, Agustin Castro. It was a pretty stellar race one that race 2, I guess, in the series that he put together, and he's alongside.
Well, Agustini, obviously, is the first time we're talking to you in the season. How fun was the race just a few minutes ago?
Hello everyone. It was very funny, thanks to Steen and Persian and Rasmussen. It was an amazing race. Very bad start for me. Half pin, and then I managed to win the race. I don't know what to say.
Don't worry. Obviously, you mentioned the start. How tricky was it? How difficult was it to get the power down? We saw that you kind of have spun. What just happened? Just a lot of power. The banking really did hinder your start as well.
Yeah, I started in Hockenheim, but the I don't know how the apron no the oval inclination was very tricky. So yeah, I think that was the problem. And I was so lucky because Coffee did the same mistake and nobody hit me. And that's all.
And when we think about next week, how much practice are you going to put in? How different it is Long Beach compared to Daytona?
Long Beach will be harder than Daytona because one mistake is going a hit to the wall, and for sure your race will be finished.
How confident are you? Do you like Long Beach? Do you prefer it over Daytona? Could we expect to see you then?
I really like Long Beach, but a little bit, how I can say it, sorry. But I never won in Long Beach or something like that. Always bad results.
Well, absolutely. Hopefully we can change that for next week. But before I let you go, who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out?
I will practice more than normal to don't make the mistakes.
Well, absolutely. With that being said, I'm going to let you focus for next week's race. And it was a pleasure meeting you. So see you next week.
Okay, see you. Thanks, guys.
All right, Andrew, that was Agustin Castro, the winner of just our amateur race just a few moments ago. Quite nervous, seems like it, but, well, definitely put on a great show here tonight, just like he did last week as well.
We certainly appreciate Agustin's time coming in during this qualifying session. It's always good to talk to drivers, especially new drivers that we've not spoken with yet. So good to meet Agustin a little bit there. On track now, you'll see, JP, it's your favorite, Fabio Zamperlini, currently in the 9th position. about 8 1/3 tenths off a pole sitter, Andre Melchers. What do you know about that? I mean, or how do you like that? Andre right back into the top of the board. I think it's going to be very, very tough to beat car 25 this season.
Yeah, I just share your thoughts. You know, he is a great driver. Obviously, when I was racing, you know, a few years ago, obviously he was the bar, and well, looks like he still is. I mean, just an excellent race car driver and an excellent Porsche driver as well. So yeah, it's just interesting to see him back on the top. Interesting to see how he's gonna deal with the race. Obviously, Neto Nascimento in second place, but 3.5 tenths away. So it's quite a big gap, especially when you think that most of the part in Daytona is just foot flat to the floor.
Yeah, Neto there in second place, as you mentioned. Actually, now dropped to third as Kosowicz goes faster. Spencer is one of those drivers that I think certainly can bring a fight to Andre the entire season. It's just going to be tough. It's certainly going to be maybe not an up mountain battle, but still an uphill battle for him. The rest of these guys might have an up mountain battle, it seems like, and that big mountain of Andre Melcher is going to be tough to conquer, certainly. Samson goes a bit faster, goes up to 16th, just ahead of this guy, Turkio, and actually Turkio goes faster, up to the 11th position now in qualifying. We saw a bit of Bernardo Faria. How about Spencer Marsh, though, in the number 74 for PSM? That is Pacific Sim Motorsport, a team that we are familiar with, JP, from the Pacific Challenge, but we've not seen much of them. Well, I say that, but we saw Mikael Rudebusch bring them back to us in last GT3 season here with the North American Racing League, and now a slew of PSM drivers in the Porsche Cup cars.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see them, you know, representing not only their league, but also their team as well. So hopefully they can string a few good results to, you know, really shine that PSM name on their car. But, you know, they're doing a great job. And obviously, Andrew, with the NARL, it's a lot of competition. So it's really hard, you know, to be on the top, to be in the top 10 constantly. So hopefully we can see them maybe even on the top step of the podium. So we can see a few drivers making a few mistakes as well. So looks like Marsh gets himself in the top 10. So yeah. 8th place for him. So just as I mentioned, very nice.
Really good lap there out of Spencer Marsh. Justin Sang finishing up his lap times. And actually, I think he's already gone through his entirety of his allotment of laps of 3. And he's actually on an extra here. And this is what we like to see out of drivers, JP. We talk about it so often, drivers taking extra laps in qualifying. We always like to see that out of drivers, just getting that extra practice. It always does you quite a bit of good. The more muscle memory you can have at a racetrack is certainly going to benefit you, so just getting those extra laps is definitely going to work wonders for any race car driver. 39 cars, 4 of them chose not to qualify, though we'll start from the rear, those being Kimbrough, Lubenow, and I believe 2 others. But that means that just after this quick warm-up, JP, we will have a field of 35 qualifiers and 4 other guys that will be tacked onto the end of the field and be a whole lot of fun to cover. We will take a quick step aside, get a chance to kind of breathe, shake loose a little bit, maybe in that order, maybe not, I don't know, we'll see, and get ready for 50 minutes of racing right after this.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Right back to the sim, and you can see drivers getting out there in their warm-up, JP. What we've got to talk about, though, is our standings. We haven't looked at this just yet. These are our Pro and Pro-Am standings after one race in Hockenheim, and you can see certainly the point spread, very, very similar. It's the same point structure, but different starting points. Paulo Godai with 42 points, Andre Melchers with 52. I believe Godai got about a top 10 or so overall, and certainly showed some strength, obviously leading the Pro-Am class. And you can see the breakdown here. Victor Miranda second, Spencer Kostowitz there in third, Nick Ludicky in fourth, and Luke Krause rounds out your top 5. Matt Dench is a notable here in the top 10. Bernardo Faria, really everybody in that top 10 is very, very strong in Pro, and even in Pro-Am as well. You see guys like Blake Scott, Scott Reister, Reed Gibson, I think will be an underdog, John Sedlak in there, a lot of great names.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, yes, everybody is great on this league as well. But you mentioned a lot of close names, and this championship is very close, and that's something we touched upon on the previous round on the amateur side. You know, I guess just valuing the time. You know, just drivers putting in the laps, because if one of these guys misses out one race, they're definitely going to be dropping off of the top 10. So it's just really important to keep themselves in contention, and obviously, Andrew, keeping themselves at a strong pace, you know, just really having to put in those results. And obviously we saw plenty of time. Consistency is the key to the championship, and the championship is only going to be over after the 8th round. We saw with Fabio Zamperlini what can happen on the last round. You can just be the 3rd place and the odd man out and just win the championship. So it's still a long way out, but I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see how everything is just going to shake up.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't give us a great picture as to how the season goes just yet, but it is the only picture that we can look at, right? I mean, one race in, we've got points, we have to look at them, we got to talk about them, because it is the one topic that we have regarding the championship and the way this might break down. So it is the topic of conversation pretty much coming into... I did Zavaldi instead of Zavadil. You know, so my brain... Whenever I see Zavadil, my brain wants to go Zavaldi, and I think that's what it is. I've had to really try and break that habit in my brain. I don't know why. I've never seen the word or name Zavaldi, but it's where my brain goes. So you're absolutely right out there. We'll get that fixed up for race number 3 next week. Good catch. Good eye out there in the chat. That's why we broadcast to you people, because you guys see things like that when we don't sometimes. So certainly appreciate it. As we have just a few seconds left here in warm-up, one thing I do want to mention is, well, you haven't heard us mention that we have a social media op this evening. Firstly, you can join our crew. Email Andrew at PitStopTV.com. Now, I do have some emails to get back to tomorrow, and I will get back to those. But the other thing is, I do want to wish our good friend Zachary Murtis, who was going to be on tonight, I want to wish him well. I really hope that he gets well soon. He let me know today that he has come down with COVID-19, tested positive, and it has really hit him hard today. I just got over it. I know a lot of, I mean, it is worldwide. It is a pandemic, JP. A lot of people are going through it. And if you are going through it, by all means, do not devalue your health. If you need help, seek help. Get that help. Just make sure your health is a priority. I just went through it. I know how serious it is. Yeah, so by all means, hope that Zachary Murtis starts feeling well very, very soon and gets through this as quickly as possible. But we have a field of cars to go through, JP, starting on pole. Andre Melchers, once again, I mean, he's going to be the car to beat this season. Spencer Kostowitz qualify rather, in the 2nd spot. Hopefully, for him, finishes 1 spot higher. Starting 3rd, you'll find Neto Nascimento there in the 75. Luke Krause will start from 4th. Starting 5th, you'll find Nick Ludicky. 6th, Victor Miranda. The rest of your top 10 will be Lawrence Zavadil. I got that one right that time. Spencer Marsh in the 74, as well as Nicholas Michel in the 812, and Matthew Dench in the 83.
Giuliano Romagnolo is going to start in 11th place, just alongside him, Alexandro Torchio. It looks like we're racing, Andrew, already.
It happens that quickly. A much more orderly start here for our Pro-Am race. I say much more orderly, and it was, but still some calamity there at turn 1. A good look at this field getting up through the gears and through the S's, and already some battles up front.
Yeah, definitely we're going to see some battles. You can see it looks like we had a change for the lead. Oh, one car.
Was that Fabio? That was Fabio.
Oh, no.
Let's go back up front.
You can see back up front, we had a change for the lead already. So it looks like, well, we're going to have a lot of shakeups if things happening on lap number 1, Andrew. It looks like the new leader, absolutely darted out as we have even more incidents. Oh no!
More crashing. Len Haunt, one of those drivers. Kurichet involved. Scott Reister as well. He's on the outside of the West Horseshoe there, and car is getting back rolling. That's what happens sometimes. Back up front, Luke Krause, your race leader, in car 34. Victor Miranda in second. Giuliano Romagnolo back out here. He's in the third spot. Your first side-by-side is a little further back with Matthew Dench and Neto Nascimento, but this is going to be a good battle down to the bus stop. Giuliano sits back. Matthew Dench and Spencer Marsh, how do they sort this out further behind? Well, looks like Matthew Dench gives that spot up to Spencer Marsh.
Yeah, just for the time being, maybe just trying to settle in with a good rhythm. Looks like he's going to fall victim for Neto Nascimento. We're going to see him trying to drag race. As you can see, just too close, Andrew. Sometimes that happens when you're too close on the exit of the bus stop. You just don't have the momentum to go around the outside. And unfortunately, the number 75 just does not have the speed right now.
So Luke Krause leads that first lap. Victor Miranda second. Great battles throughout. Giuliano Romagnolo to the bottom side of turn 1 takes that spot away from Victor Miranda. Andre Melcher's there in fourth. One lap down and quite a few more to go.
Oh, exactly. Still 48 minutes to go, Andrew. So plenty of racing, plenty of changes still to be had on the grid, as you can see. The rest of the top 5 just making their way. As you can see now, the rest of the whole field essentially making their way through the kink. And, well, very orderly, and we don't have a lot of separation like we had on the first race.
No, we're not getting that separation at all just yet. We are going to have a quick graphics reset. We apologize there, but trying to get things reloaded here. As you can see, is more calamity in the West Horseshoe. We'll keep up front, though. Don't want to lose sight of these guys when they're in this line. I mean, JP, anything can happen still with these guys up front. With 50, or well, with 40 cars in this case, a lot's going to happen, and unfortunately, we can't get it all. This is really good stuff up front.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the leader kind of just maintaining that gap that he built. You can see Giuliano just behind him, battling for second place, trying to hold his second place. And Andre Melchers looks like he's still in fourth place, but losing a little bit of a gap. Looks like he caught up, well, all that gap essentially for the time being. And yeah, the top 3, as you can see, kind of orderly. And I wonder, Andrew, when will the strategy kick in? When will the fuel saving kick in? Because definitely on the battle for second, it's not yet. It looks like they're going for this. They won the track position for the time being, so this is really interesting to see.
Working through the banking in NASCAR 3 and 4, back to the tri-oval. Lap 2 will go the way of Luke Krause still. And I think we're going to see a few fewer battles in this race, JP. At least up front, we're going to see these guys sit in line, and they know they've got a fuel save. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, with the pit stop, with the mandatory pit stop on this race, fuel saving is going to be a must. These drivers are going to be trying to save every single drop of fuel, every single milligram of fuel, you can say, just to, you know, have a shorter pit stop. And we saw that play dividend on last week's race, Andrew. So we know how important it is. Now imagine on kind of a, I guess you could say, a half super speedway like Daytona. That's going to be even more important.
Your first Pro-Am battle for position is Nicholas Michel with Lawrence Zavadil further back. Lawrence is pretty close, but Nicholas is much closer to Spencer Marsh for position, so that could change things up. Paulo Godai is just behind these guys, so 1, 2, 3 in a line, and just behind those guys, you'll find TK.
Yeah, TK looks like he is having a better race right now. Obviously, last week he didn't get to the best of starts. Obviously, he got taken out on the grid, wasn't he, Andrew? So he got a lot of damage early on in the race. So,
but stayed
right
in the
now,
race
much better.
And I think salvaged a really good finish.
Yes, absolutely. His pace was very strong. Unfortunately, he couldn't really show it to us on the, I guess, the top half of the field on the top 10. But, well, he has a good pace. Looks like he's a bit on his own as well. But hopefully he can, you know, fight his way back to the front guys. But, yeah, we're going to have plenty of battles, plenty of fuel savings. Really going to be an interesting remaining 45 minutes of racing.
So, of course, we saw Scott Reister in trouble there at the start. Another driver in trouble in the pit lane currently is John Sedlak of JS Consulting. He'll get back on the racetrack and get back going. Fabio Zamperlini, of course, also had that trouble that first lap. There he is in 37th spot. Aaron Law in the 147 is 36th. Reedy Gibson is 35th. James Hansen is now in the 34th spot, just ahead. So this is where we get to the back end of the field. Blake Scott is 33rd. So a lot of those guys had trouble. You can see the damage to Scott's nose.
And quite a lot of damage. You can even see a few bit of damage on the side part of the car. So you can see just how much, just how much time you lose, how much straight line speed you lose with just a tiny little bit of aero damage. So it's really unfortunate to happen early on in the race. Obviously, these guys are going to get it fixed, but looks like we're going to have a replay to see exactly what happened to him of the cause of the damage.
We're going to try to get one anyways from the start of this race. We'll see what we can find out. Like we'll have to go to the replay one more time. So from the start of the race here, this is most of the field up front, right? So this is all these guys going 3, 4 wide. Giuliano Romagnola making some big moves. And really, I actually want to watch this from Scott Reiser's point of view because he was one of the drivers that ended up with the shortest stick of all and crashed in the West Horseshoe. So we'll just watch it from his point of view.
So you can see just taking it just easy on first lap. Obviously, a lot of cars around him. Does it happen right here? Does he get contact from behind?
Well, no. This
Nope.
there's the International Horseshoe. It happens down on the west side.
Oh, yeah, true.
And I really do wonder who was involved in this because we only got a piece of it. I mean, look at this whole gaggle of race cars, 2 wide through most of it. They get sorted out through the kink. And oh, that was one of the Scuderia Chicken House cars.
Oh, and unfortunately, he had absolutely nowhere to go. He was a passenger at that point. You saw the car just being locked up, trying to avoid any sort of incident, but unfortunately, as you mentioned, got the shortest stick of them all, and unfortunately damaged before he even entered the speedway part of the racetrack.
Now, he is the only car stopped so far. Well, actually, no. Not the second car. The first car out, certainly. The only car out of the race. I do want to see what happens to him here. I do like the new Maradness logo on that 142 car as we await his demise, unfortunately. This is one of those situations as a driver where you get sorted out into kind of a pocket, and you're in the battle, but also not in the battle, right? You have space for the cars ahead, space for the cars behind, and you just got to try and close in on those guys ahead, but at your own risk, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I guess it's a tricky spot to be in, Drew, and it's just like a really tricky spot to be in. Just, each and every single choice you make could have consequences, so it's just like, I don't know, we're just gonna have to wait and see exactly what happens to him. Maybe it's just down into turn 1 to see the extra bit of damage that caused him to retire early on in the race, but yeah, it's just really unfortunate, as you mentioned, on the amateur side, just having your race end so early on a 40-minute race. You can see a driver going, why does he come back, and does this bite? No, so still quite early, but it's just unfortunate. You can see even more cars stopped on the grass, so a lot of, not carnage, but a lot of incidents happening early on in the race, which is just, again, unfortunate to see.
We'll hop back live with our race leaders as they work back into the trial with a complete lap number 5 of an expected 29. Luke Krause, your race leader. And it's very calm. Very calm through the entire race. There's some battles popping up around the field. Sam Soyd and Curtis Jones are going to go after it. Curtis Jones' teammate, Brady Lubinow, is just behind. Brian DeVries back there as well. It's in this midfield, I think, we're going to find the action today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure this is where we're going to see most of the moves being made, especially trying, to leapfrog some of the competition, just trying to help each other out to get to the pack in front. As you can see, Luan Hot just trying to close in a little bit of the gap. Getting on the curb. Not a lot of damage. Not going to get a lot of underside and floor damage, I don't think. But unfortunately, he's going to lose a bit of touch with that group in front and definitely going to fall under pressure from the driver right behind him. So that's small end. So it looks like he has also a little bit of damage to his front end, Andrew. So, yeah, so a lot of things, unfortunately, playing against him early on in the race.
A good bit of damage there to the center of the nose. He's definitely center punched somebody. As he follows Brian DeVries and Brady Lubinow, Curtis Jones as well. And David Sampson in the 14th spot. This is a pretty good run going for Samsoid. I like what he's got going so far. We saw it was a good day at Hockenheim for him last week, but wasn't, I think, good enough. Wasn't what he wanted by all means, considering he is a pro driver. He's got the I rating to boot. And maybe something better shaping up today.
Yeah, I bet he hopes to. He's just a few seconds shy of Tony Kanaan, so it looks like Tony just kind of broke away from this group, and unfortunately Samso just trying to catch up to him, but looks like Tony might be on his own as well. As you can see, a few extra cars. That's going to be the 117 of Scott Kimbrough, so just trying, as you can see, Andrew, just patient. He's not trying to make a move early on in the race, maybe just trying to tag along. and just, yeah, fuel saving. Exactly, just fuel saving at this point. So that's going to be the main strategy for today's race, which is just what we expected.
Tucks in behind and now drops to the inside of Mikel Rudebusch, who's got some left side damage there. And we didn't find, obviously, what happened to Scott Reister, but it definitely was big, and he felt it was enough to take him out of the race. Justin Seng has also had an issue. Mark Scott is also in the pit lane with a damaged 167. John Sedlak has gotten back on the racetrack. We'll pick back up with Scott Kimbrough, Mikel Rudebusch. This is for 20th position. And there's battles everywhere, JP. Another battle behind these guys is Lowy Santi and Nick Peterson. Nick Peterson in one of those beautiful stock GT3 Cup cars, GT3 RS cars. I love that paint scheme. It's just so simple. It is what you would see on a factory Porsche. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. It just looks so good. It kind of looks like a road going car.
Yeah, it's
just
exactly. That's what you would see on a real Porsche GT3 RS.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes, it just happens to be on Daytona racing against the Cup cars. It's just nice to see, and obviously I love the yellow on Porsches. They just look so good. It's one of the few cars, I guess, it looks really, really good. It looks proper on yellow.
Let's head back up front for just a moment to Giuliano Romagnolo and company. Now, Giuliano, one of the top drivers here from Radness. And it looks like he was initially signed up in car 72, has been changed to 55, so that'll have to be reflected next week at Long Beach. Oh, and Kraus down onto the apron for a moment. I don't know if you want to do that. These cars can take curbs remarkably well, but that transition back up onto the banking might be a little bit hairy, as you see purple lap there out of Nick Ludicky. And he's actually become the top driver for Vendaval Sim Racing, it looks like, because Spencer Kostowitz is a couple of spots back in 7th.
Yeah, he's currently leading his teammate. Just one car between those two is Neto Nascimento, looks like. So, just trying to lead that team. We saw them essentially running together at one point in Hockenheim, but obviously his teammate got the early pit stop, obviously the big undercut, which ended up working well for him. So I wonder, Andrew, I don't think we're going to see too many undercuts on Daytona, just because you really need to be on the slipstream to be fast, to stay in the group. But, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. And obviously something that I've noticed is the number 25, Melchers, he's just not that close to Victor Miranda as I hoped. I'm not pretty sure if he's just biding his own time, just getting within that safe window of slipstream, but, we haven't seen him as close to Victor Miranda as Victor is to the number 55.
I don't think he really needs to be. You get a little bit of draft anyways, and you're able to just save by lifting early, coasting into corners. You don't want to touch the clutch. That could certainly lead to bad things when you get back onto power, but well, maybe you want to touch the clutch a little bit. Maybe end up braking to, I don't know. It's so finicky, so tricky if you do it. But you're right, he has fallen back actually quite a ways, and Victor has that pull from the cars ahead. This is starting to get into a danger zone of losing the draft of the cars ahead, and look at this. Ludicky with company from Nascimento, that's only going to hurt him worse.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like they're gonna be losing touch with Melchers, but looks like Neto is just, easing it back, just easing it lap after lap as we have a change for the lead. Looks like Romagnolo got the lead over Kraus, and that's going to slow a lot of them down and bring that gap once again closer, Andrew. So this is not what the top 3 wanted, but I'm pretty sure is what the 4th place and back really does want.
I didn't expect that out of Giuliano. I thought he would have been content to sit behind Luke Kraus for the remainder of this race, or at least until our pit stop. I wonder then, are these guys going to push the earlier stop?
That's going to be interesting. Obviously, we saw a bit of strategy to essentially allow the driver to overtake. Obviously, Kraus could have also just let Romagnolo pass to save a bit of fuel himself. Yeah. He has been leading since lap 1, so that's 15 minutes already punching the air. Obviously, he's going to be trying to lift and coast a little bit himself, but, well, it's obviously easier when you have a car in front of you.
Pro-Am leader is still Nicholas Michel, just over Lawrence Zavadil. Paulo Goday is now over a second behind these two. 4th in class would actually be Curtis Jones back there in 16th overall, battling with Samsoid. In 5th, to round out the top 5 in their class, would be Luan Haught with Brian DeVries a little further back. Scott Kimbrough also in that class. So Pro-Am is a pretty good little battle. A little more split up, obviously, than the pros, but good racing nonetheless. Let's actually go on board with Lawrence here, battling for that race lead in Pro-Am. Look at the traffic ahead.
Yeah, just a lot. That's slipstream galore, I guess you can say. Just a lot of drivers just within that slipstream train, but barely on the edge, everybody injured. Everybody's kind of spread apart. Looks like we're just gonna have to wait and see if Sabadell is gonna maybe try to go for the lead. No, he's just backing off. As you can see, the speed just 177, 176, but then he just kind of looks down the inside, maybe trying to upset his competition, and goes deep under braking. So I'm not pretty sure that was a mistake or an intended line, but well, I'm pretty sure we should expect this, you know, just trying to save fuel, but at the same time applying pressure to your competition.
You know what this looks like? And this is actually towards the front. There's a little bit of contact there with Savadil and Michelle. But you know what this looks like, JP? Is before LMP2 had been added, and, well, actually, even with LMP2 now, when you get those single split Daytona 24 races, the 24-hour races, you just at a line, you know, you're in the mid-race, you know there's not a whole lot to fight for. That's what this looks like right now. These guys are just in a line. They know they've got to get to the end of this race. They know they can't battle too much just yet, so they're just trying to bide their time and see what they can do. That's exactly what this race feels like right now. You have Romagnolo, who has decided to go out into the lead, maybe test it out for a little bit. Kraus, who wants to draft. Miranda, Melchers, Ludicky, all in a line. This entire top 10, 12 even, all in a line, just chilling right now, just drafting.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the part where you just try to save as much fuel as possible. Obviously, they do have spotters, you know, friends that are just helping them with traffic, and obviously they do have systems. Obviously, they do have software that are just helping them with fuel. So, you know, this is just a time to relax. Just, you know, try to save as much fuel as possible. And obviously, we talked about last week, you know, a lot of drivers saying after the first pit stop is when the real racing starts. So after the first pit stop, we should expect to see drivers going side by side, you know, diving into corners, you know, being more aggressive. But for now, he's just calm and collected, trying to stay in that position, but obviously up in front.
On board with Tony Kanaan, and he'll wrap up his own lap number 10 here. What's interesting is, as we've documented, he's in a bubble of his own, but he's ebbing and flowing, I think, to the cars ahead. He's not able to save the fuel that everybody else is. Shorten up his pit stops. We might see him drop back to the guys behind of Brady Lubenow and David Sampson, Curtis Jones, and some of the others. But he's going to have a good race, I think, going regardless. He's just been able to be safe here and run nice, clean laps. That's what's very important in these 15-minute races. It's tough to keep your car clean. It's tough to pace yourself for 50 minutes and not have at least some kind of mistake. But he's doing a great job of it. And I mean, it makes sense. He's a professional race car driver, plenty of accolades to his belt. It would make sense that he is one of those guys that is able to keep this car clean, especially in this circumstance where you don't have cars as a reference. You don't have a car to chase. You're just out there left to your own devices trying to lap and do so quickly. Let's go back up front, though. Romagnolo now with maybe a little bit of company from Kraus. Does Kraus want that lead back?
Yeah, this is interesting. No, looks like they're just pushing. We mentioned bump drafting. We know how dangerous it can be, especially on these cars, you know, just race build cars for road courses. So it's kind of difficult to get, but it looks like these drivers have absolutely nailed the technique to do it. So it should be safe, but Andrew, I guess danger always looms when you're trying to do stuff like that, especially with cars like this.
Here's the battle, Blaine Spalding and Kevin Kuriche. Of course, Kuriche, the one Uruguay driver that we've ever seen on PitStopTV. He's going to go to the inside here of Blaine Spalding. This will be to the bus stop. So a move from Kevin to the inside will take the 25th place away. Joshua Lewis will now sort right behind, and I believe, are those two teammates? I can't tell, actually, because Blaine Sparling is in a very similar livery. Yes, those are teammates. Scuderia Chicken House liveries. I say similar because it's similar style, but different liveries, certainly. Pink versus gold, and certainly different designs. But teammates there with Sparling and Lewis. James Hansen is just behind these two. And how about James Hansen? We've talked much about him back in the Pacific Challenge days, but not much in these last 2 weeks. Currently 28th.
Yeah, not a lot to talk. You can see now him making a move, not wasting a lot of time behind these guys, just trying to make those inroads as quickly as possible. But yeah, as you mentioned, you know, not the greatest of starts of the season for him. I'm sure he has a lot more pace to show, you know, just maybe a few bad races, and that's what I'm talking about. Just going for gaps, not wasting a lot of time. He just wants to be up in the front, which obviously could hurt, but well, if he's confident up in the front, Andrew, who are we to judge? Obviously, he wants to get, you know, as many positions as he can, and it looks like he wants track position for the time being.
So now into position 27 as he passed Blaine Sparling in the 159. Will sort in behind Blaine's teammate, and actually Blaine Sparling losing a spot here to Paul Ricciabene. and so Paul moves up to 28th. Back up front, Luke Krause has taken the race lead from Romagnolo. And this isn't all that crazy. This is what we expect out of these guys. We expect some changes of position, especially up front. We expect some leapfrogging, moving around, changing who's saving fuel. So this is normal.
Yeah, exactly. This is just going to be normal. Obviously, it's interesting for us to, see this switch for the lead, but it looks like they're doing so efficiently that they're not losing a lot of time, which is really good for them, But obviously, at this moment, Andrew, can they lose a lot of time? Because, well, the whole top 10 is just within a shot. Look at this. So they're not really divided in two groups. So at this moment in time, you just keep yourself on the road. If you have to switch positions, switch positions. But there's absolutely no room for mistakes.
So as these guys work now minute, I was going to say 28. No, this would be minute 22 of 50. Do want to remind everybody watching about our partners here with the North American Racing League and, well, more specifically, the Porsche Cup season. This has been fantastic stuff. If I can get the words out and not kind of slur them together, this has been fantastic stuff so far. We're only 2 races in. In fact, we're a race and a half, if you will, a broadcast and a half, but just fantastic racing. I don't know any other way to put it. This Porsche Cup car is such a fantastic, I think, spec racing standard on iRacing and sim racing as a whole. So people to have this kind of racing on PitStopTV is certainly an honor, certainly a privilege, and we want to thank those who make it possible. Of course, VRS, Virtual Racing School. As I joked about last week, as we turned on the broadcast for Hockenheim Ring JP, I was charged for my most recent subscription to VRS. So everything that VRS does, Virtual Racing School, is certainly worth it. I stand by it. And it's very, very useful for sports car racing, endurance racing, and even NASCAR racing. A lot of their setup packs and everything, very, very helpful. If you are new to open setup racing on iRacing, this is one good place to start. And if you're new to iRacing in general, potentially, you need to get a little bit of coaching, or even if you're a veteran of the sim and you just want to pick up a few tenths out there and run with these guys up front in the NARL, well, look to Moradness. Daniel Morad, a pro racing driver in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and experience in all kinds of droves of racing. He will get you tuned up and ready to go. And not just Daniel Morad, but also guys like Giuliano Romagnolo that we're watching here today. Several of their drivers actually have coaching sessions that you can book with Moradness. Very, very cool what they're doing. And of course, Tam Livery and JS Consulting and everything they put in on the back end of making this league happen as a whole. Tam Livery with all of the league graphics and promos and everything. And of course, JS Consulting with the league back end, the website building, and all of that. So very, very cool stuff that we see with all of these partners here of the North American Racing League as we draw closer to halfway. In fact, JP, we are literally a minute from halfway, and this is the line up front. This is first all the way through 12th. Paulo Gadai is that last car in line.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, Andrew, just no room for mistakes. Just really, really close, really tight for these guys. So, at this moment in time, we mentioned it, plenty of times. You just have... Yeah, is he?
He was. I heard it right there. Hopefully you guys watching at home heard it. He's clutching.
Oh, so there he goes. So you can see just how much fuel these guys are trying to save, trying to jump each other from the pit lane. And I just thought about it, Andrew. I'm not quite sure when the pit stops are going to happen, especially with this much fuel saving, but I expect more than half of them are going to be coming in at the same time. And, well, looks like it has already started. Do we have a car? Yeah, is Luke Krause on the pit lane?
Yes, he is. Good eye.
Oh. So there we go. So it has started.
He's in, and I was just about to take an onboard with Brady Lubinow, actually, because he had pitted the lap prior. So here's Luke Krause onto the pit lane. We'll see what he can do in the number 34 car. And how long is his stop? Now, Brady Lubinow's stop, very, very recently, I got to find it here in the order, was 15 seconds on the dot. That was 46 in the lane, or maybe that's 40.1. It's hard to tell. I think 46. And with this longer pit lane now, this longer pit exit, that's why it's so much longer. So Luke Krause, 14.88 in the pit lane, or in the pit box, 45.23. Compare that to Lubinow's stats here, 15.03. In the box, and even Laui Santi has been in recently, in fact just 2 laps ago, and he'll make that 3 across the line. James Hansen has recently pitted. Reed Gibson as well. Even Blake Scott Bernardo Faria. So several drivers have now pitted. Most of them are well down the order, be it because of the cycle or because that's where they were already running. So there's a lot to be learned here, but I think pit lane is about to get very, very busy.
Oh, absolutely, and I do expect, at least from Miranda further back, that pit lane time and obviously pit stop time itself to be much shorter. And obviously, the number 34 was just punching the air throughout the first stint, so he was using more fuel. And look at the run of the number 17. Yeah, you can see just saving even extra fuel. So could we see them coming down the pit lane? I dare say. Oh, look at Marshall.
Melcher is around the outside. Miranda with that big bump to Romagnolo, getting him going. That was proper bump drafting. And Andre Melcher's got the wall, gets down onto the door of Romagnolo. Oh my goodness, that was very, very close. Glad we didn't have a crash there, but that could have been.
Yeah, that could have been a massive crash. It looks like the racing has already started even before the pit lane. So right now, all these guys want track position, obviously, to rejoin on the pit lane, to have the best opportunity possible to come out ahead of each other. So you can see the number 25. Oh, even contact Nick Ludicky and Victor Miranda. So now it's proper racing, Andrew. This is what we were expecting. This is what we were waiting for all this time. No.
That's a mistake of his own volition there. He's going to get back on. Nick Ludicky for Vendaval Sim Racing. Big mistake.
Oh, that's going to cost him so much time.
We go up front. Andre Melcher, second place. Giuliano Romagnolo going to work up a bit of a gap. Victor Miranda, third. Neto Nascimento there in fourth. Do these guys get back together by the bus stop?
Oh, I think they're going to start coming together, and I think most of them are going to be pitting. They're racing really hard to not come down into pit lane this lap. So it's just going to be interesting how many. You can see even Melcher's still fuel saving. Everybody's kind of just fuel saving at this moment, but you can see the gap between Melcher's and Miranda really closed up quite a lot, and you can see how dirty that windscreen is, Andrew. That's what happens when you follow someone for over 20 minutes. So now only a few seconds to answer our question. How many people will dive into the pit lane at the end of this lap?
Here we go. We should expect them in here. Giuliano Romagnolo, no move to the pit lane yet. In fact, they're not coming in just yet. Matthew Dench,
wow.
No. Spencer Marsh, no. Paulo Godai, no. Tony Kanaan, maybe he comes in.
Yeah, he has been running by himself. No, so
but Ludicky does.
Really interesting. Ludicky does. So he lost a bit of contact with them. I bet he's hoping that they're gonna start battling and slowing themselves down to allow him a chance to, well, essentially go back to that lane. You can see the number 812 of Michel as well. You can see a bit of damage as well to his car. So we're just gonna have to see how long he's. Oh, even more mistakes.
That is a killer for Vendaval's Nick Ludicky. He's clearly turned up the wick recently on iRacing in general. I mean, getting a ride with Vendaval Sim Racing is no easy feat, but small little mistakes. Now, he hit a good fuel number, 13.4 in the pit lane. That's much faster than Luke Krause, but the other mistakes, they're going to sort him well behind car 34, who's already on by him. There goes Kevin Kurashe in 19th. Joshua Lewis between them as well. That is killer for Ludicky. That is big.
Yeah, you can see even with the shorter pit stop time, his overall pit lane was longer than the number 34, so
yeah,
just 3 seconds quicker on the pit stop, but still a second slower overall. So you can see how much that costs. But yeah, unfortunately for him, a string of mistakes that's definitely going to take him out of contention so far for the battle for the lead. So it's just going to be interesting, Andrew. How much fuel did these guys save? It was 13.4 the quickest. Could we see a sub 13 pit stop?
You know, for Neto Nascimento, Victor Miranda, even Andre Melcher's, especially Andre Melcher's, actually, we could. Let's go on board with Andre. Does he pit this time? I think this is the cutoff. You've certainly got to pit this time, right? No, they're going to keep rolling. I like this. They're leaving us guessing. We don't know exactly what's going to happen here. I like this unknown. But we're going to see a few drivers have to come in sooner and sooner, and that's right back out to the wall. Andre's got to be so careful of that. I think that's the second lap in a row that he's flirted with the outside safer barrier there into turn one. I get you want to get the arc, but you've got to be so careful.
Oh yeah, he's just threading the limits. You can see even more cars coming down to the pit lane. We have 2 more cars battling down into turn 1. That's a Pacific Sim Motorsport. We have, oh no, Tony Kanaan as well for a mistake. So Nick Ludicky, you shouldn't be yourself too much over that mistake. You can
champion just did it.
Yeah, just did it. So it just happens. You can see Bonifacio as well on the pit lane. Torquio as well. So a lot of drivers coming in. Tony with a 14.6 pit stop. I guess that's kind of expected by, he was just running by himself throughout the whole stint, so not a lot of fuel to be saved there. You can see Fabio Zamperlini as well coming down. And you can see even more cars. You can see the number 173. How long is going to be his stop? 13.8, so that's a strong pit stop as well.
Gerche is in. Joshua Lewis is in. Blaine Sparling. Lowy Santi will keep going. Aaron Law will keep going, maybe. A lot going on here. Aaron Law is actually going to come in pit. Very aggressive pit entry there, right down to the inside of the racetrack. Let's get back to our race leaders. They're into the bus stop. I think this is the number, right? This feels like as long as you can go, and we keep saying that, but they've gone already a lap longer, and a lap here is, what, 3.4 miles, 3.5 miles? That's a long ways to save fuel. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. You can see Melcher's going to the outside of Romagnolo. He must feel safe. Romagnolo is going to peel off. The rest of these guys stay on the track.
Miranda was going to peel off at one moment. I'm pretty sure he just decided to stick by Melcher. So you can see even more cars. Looks like 1, 2, maybe 3. Yeah, 4 cars down into the pit lane. Matthew Dench leading that small group of 3 cars. Marsh as well right behind him. So, well, that's going to be interesting. Zavadil as well. So this is going to be a race, Andrew. Right now you want to maybe underfuel your car a lot. And I was just going to mention, last season, we were all the time, oh, is this going to be the lap they're going to come in? So
yeah,
we know we are in the NARL league.
Kimbrough with a slight adjustment into his box, but he gets in. Nick Peterson as well in the pit lane. Brian DeVries, Curtis Jones in. Let's see what the time is for Romagnolo as he leaves the pit lane. This will be a good look at just how tight this is. This is not any easy feat getting out of the pits here at Daytona. 13.17, 13.17 is very quick in the box. Luke Krause is coming up behind him, and he gets out well ahead of Luke Krause. That is big.
That is big, but Luke might just be in the slipstream range. I don't think he is.
It's close.
Yeah, it's close, but Romagnolo was leading that group, so the rest of the field is going to come out really close to Krause.
But Krause was leading when he pitted, wasn't he, or was he second? Either way, he was right there with Romagnolo. So interesting to see how that delta is going to work out. There's Matthew Dench just behind Luke Krause, and I do mean just behind him. Spencer Marsh there in line, so these guys held nice. Zavadil there. Nick Ludicky is a little ways back, and then you find Nicholas Michel, who is in the front. Tony Kanaan on the other side of the horseshoe. And here we go, our leaders. Out of NASCAR 4, do they pit this time? We think they have to.
Yeah, they must have to at this moment in time. You can see Victor Miranda getting an excellent run. Victor dives down into...
You're kidding me, Andre.
Wow, Andre is really threading the needle. His car is going to be... Oh, you can see the rest of the field. So Andre is going to be by himself. The rest of the top 5 essentially just comes down into the pit lane.
Yeah, everybody else is in. The only car left running that has not pitted yet is our race leader, Andre. We know how much he was talking about fuel saving, how much he was talking about drafting, even last week at Hockenheimring. And I wonder, was he the last one to pit last week as well? I know he waited a while. He held out on the pit lane for some time. We'll see. Other leaders that are in, you see Spencer Kostowitz. Victor Miranda just went by, and Nito Nascimento as well.
Yeah, 12 seconds, 12.7. So Kostowitz was 0.7 of a second quicker than Neto Nascimento. Victor Miranda with 11.5 stop.
Wow. That's a NASCAR pit stop.
That's, yeah, I bet that car is underfueled as well. It has to be, right? You can see the gap. Look at how much, how further ahead they are from Romagnolo. So it's really going to pay off. So I wonder, Andrew, how quick is Melcher's stop's going to be if he wants to jump Miranda?
It's a good question. He's got this lap out there bearing the full brunt of the air. That's going to hurt him here. And I, you know, any of these guys that sorted out in this front line, but with a little extra fuel, so the case of Romagnolo, for example, especially compared to the cars that are ahead of him, even Luke Krause at 14.9 in the pit box, he's got these guys. He's got more fuel. He can actually race. These other guys, they're going to have to save. I feel like anybody who took that little bit of extra fuel is Romagnolo, a big mistake. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, a bit of, he just hit the right side of the car into the barrier.
And that's going to break this pack up.
Yes, that's gonna cost him a lot. That's gonna cost him even straight line speed. So his chance to lead the race or maybe even lead a pack could really be hurt. Now the number 25 finally comes down into pit road. And Andrew, I'm just interested to see what that right number is gonna be. I wonder if it's gonna be below 12.
Oh, it would have to be. I think you have to at this point. You have to do everything you can to get out in first. What you do from there is kind of on you, but I just don't think you want to get behind in this group. You don't want to have to be racing for it. 11.18.
There we go.
That is just faster than Victor Miranda by a couple of tenths in the box. Here comes Miranda into turn 1.
This is going to be close between them. No, this is actually, yeah, this is going to be close. You can see Melcher's just getting away, getting onto the throttle right now. And yeah,
Miranda's got a second back to third.
Yeah, so their two are just going to be on a race of their own. So you can see Miranda 1.3. That's barely on the edge of the slipstream. I don't think he's going to benefit from that. So, wow, indeed.
Everything that we watch in the first half hour is tipped over on its head. These gaps are really staggering. I did not expect these gaps at all, but Andre Melcher's leading once again. Victor Miranda second, I feel like once again. Spencer Kostowitz right back at a good spot. They're in third. Neto Nascimento is just behind, though. These two might be in the catbird seat. If they can leapfrog and draft up to Victor Miranda, it's going to be tough for them to make up 3 seconds on Andre Melcher's, but they've certainly got to try, and they've got the best chance to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. If they work as a team, at least for a few minutes, they can definitely catch up to one of those guys, but looks like they're going to be wanting to battle. You can see Kostowicz,
okay.
You know.
These leapfrogs are okay because you can keep drafting and actually save speed. If you bump draft, if you lift, that's when you lose time.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, Kostowicz should get, you know, the slipstream again and pass Neto Nascimento to maybe catch up to Victor Miranda, but it's going to be really close. Obviously, at one point in time, Andrew, they're not going to be wanting to leapfrog. They're not going to be wanting to work as a small team, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens when that time comes. And you can see just, yeah, bump drafting a little bit, saving even a little bit of fuel maybe, so interesting.
They made a few tenths up on that lap. They've got to make up a whole lot more. I mean, they have to be perfect here to the end, and they really need Andre Melcher's to have to lean back a little bit. You wonder if he's going to have to. Even if he just has to back up to Victor Miranda, and that actually might be in his best interest, to have a race for first and second to avoid a race for third and fourth.
Could be an interesting challenge as well. Oh, this is actually, I don't know, this is just so interesting. Yeah, this is really fun. And Victor is catching up slowly but surely. You can see the gap is down to 1.1, 1.2 seconds, but unfortunately he looks like he ran wide, so all that work that he did just goes away just like that.
Let's check further back in the field. Luke Krause in 5th. Giuliano Romagnolo there. Stu, as he's known, in 6th position. Matthew Dench, 7th. 5-Star Motorsport colors looking good. Spencer Marsh there in 8th. And Lawrence Zavadil and Paulo Goddai. That is your battle still for Pro-Am victory. Nicholas Michel is a little further back. In fact, somewhere to the tune of 7 seconds behind, as he comes up out of turn number 6 and onto the oval now. Been a good run, though, and look at who he's ahead of. Tony Kanaan.
And not only just ahead, 5.7 seconds ahead of Tony Kanaan.
And Tony Kanaan finally has company, which is interesting and good to see. I mean, we have to stress is, I know we're kind of, you know, we always kind of fangirl a little bit over Tony, and I think it's warranted to a point, but this is really cool for guys like Curtis Jones and Rafael Bonifacio. Is that right? Bonifacio, I think. For these guys to get to race with Tony Kanaan, potentially their hero, right? Or one of their heroes, at least one of those guys that they look up to, certainly in racing, in pro motorsport. To be able to race with him on iRacing is always really cool, and be able to race with any of these pro drivers is really cool. My roommate ran with Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his NASCAR iRacing Series race on Sunday night. And I know that he was talking about it last night at dinner. I mean, he was hyped about it. I don't know if he's going to admit it, but he was absolutely stoked to race with Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Daytona. And it makes sense. It's Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's his hero. Zach and I were both massive fans of Dale. So for these guys to get to race with Tony Kanaan and other drivers like that is really, really cool. And heartbreak up ahead. The West Horseshoe has gone all kinds of wrong for Neto Nascimento. And that's not only going to hurt Neto, but that's also going to hurt Spencer Kostowitz.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like he's going to be losing his Raptor partner, and unfortunately might just lose his chance of battling for second or even for first place as well. So unfortunately, a small mistake for the number 75 ends up having big consequence for the number 18, who's not even his teammate.
Yeah, this is going to be big. The top 3, I think, is about locked in unless one of them has a big mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. And That's going to be interesting. You can see Victor Miranda kind of just closing in the gap a little bit, kind of using that slipstream just a tiny little bit lap after lap. And Andrew, that point you brought up, just racing with racing legends, you can say, you just, it sparks a memory in your head and just fixates it. So I'm pretty sure each and every single driver that has a chance to battle with Tony Kanaan is really going to, enjoy this memory, and it's going to be stuck on their head, because I remember the day I raced against Max Verstappen. Racing is kind of a strong word, because he lapped me within 20 minutes of racing, but it was really fun and it's really stuck on my head. It was 2018, so 4 years ago, and I still remember that race.
And even in addition to that, the amount of talent they bring to the field as well. In this case, we've got a pro streamer in the case of Samsoid, David Sampson, and brings a lot of competition to the table, and even, I think, behind some of the competition, he's 16th in this race, behind some of the Pro-Am drivers. And, of course, the competition level that Tony Kanaan and the talent that Tony Kanaan brings to this race, it's really incredible to be able to have that along with these battles and these storylines of guys that are just sim racers. They're just like you and me, JP. They're just guys at home. They're sim racers. Some of them go, decently pro. I mean, Vendaval Sim Racing has a big footprint in sim racing, especially on iRacing, but to have these guys that are regular Joes like us be able to race week in, week out with the pros and be able to elevate and I think prove themselves against some of these pros on iRacing is always super cool. 8 minutes to go here at Daytona, the World Center of Racing. It has been a proper bit of fun. It really has. I think this season is going to be really, really cool, and races that we're looking forward to. I think I certainly have to highlight Charlotte and Road Atlanta, JP, but this entire season is going to be a whole lot of fun, and we've seen that this evening. We're on board with Paulo Gaday. This is your battle for Pro-Am victory between these two, Zavadil and Gaday, as Nick Peterson actually has to slip up further back. He gives up a couple of spots to Brady Lubenow and Fabio Zamperlini. And yes, you're right. So Victor Miranda has caught him.
Yeah, he has got him. He really caught up on the last few laps, and I'm pretty sure if Melcher just allowed him to catch up, maybe underfueled too much of the car. We're not quite sure just yet, but, well, now we have a battle for the leader. 2.6, 2.7 seconds. Melcher's having to check up a little bit to avoid contact with Miranda, so this is going to be interesting to see with 7 minutes to go. I'm pretty sure they're just going to be, once again, Andrew, just leapfrogging one another, not battling too hard. Obviously, unless Miranda has enough fuel to push till the end of the race, I'm pretty sure he wants to hold track position.
Listen closely. Clutch in. Clutch out. That tells a story here for Andre Melchers. He needs to race with Victor Miranda. He needs to draft, just like I suspected. Racing for first and second here is more beneficial to him than racing for third and fourth potentially. He cannot afford to, and maybe even running out of fuel, he cannot afford that. He's got to race right now with Victor Miranda. He's got to draft with Victor Miranda. This is potentially race changing, and that's why I'm so surprised that we had such a wide array of pit stop times. I thought they would have been a lot closer, JP. I'm really so surprised at this.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this is going to be one of the few racetracks where we're going to see so much difference in the pit stop times. We saw upwards of, 3.5 seconds difference. Oh, you can see there was that Romagnolo getting past?
Yes, that was.
Wow, that was a really bold move over Kostowicz, and it could have ended very badly. That's a really aggressive move, but it worked out, and he's up into 5th place, so I'm pretty sure he's not going to be complaining about that. But yeah, coming back to the point about refueling, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the track where we're going to see the most difference, especially among the top guys. As you can see now, Matthew Dench just pushing. And now, Andrew, it's a really good time to analyze the rear diffuser of the Porsche.
Yeah, it really is. Good look at it there. Here's a good look at the nose of the 83 car, and Matt drops back a little bit. 5.5 minutes to go, and this is where the battles are getting fun. We'll keep an eye on the leaders, certainly, keep a half eye on their deficits, but we've got to start watching these battles around the field, because this is going to start to determine a lot of the early season standings. Of course, Matt Dench racing with these guys like Spencer Marsh and Neto Nascimento. Going to be a lot of fun. And our Pro-Ams are right behind them.
Yeah, Pro-Ams, and that battle is still very much alive. It's going to be interesting to see if Paulo Gaday has anything to do with, has any pace or any sort of advantage over Zavadil, because obviously they're kind of stuck in this slipstream battle, in this slipstream train, so it's really hard to make up time, but it's really easy to lose a lot of time as well. It's just really easy to make a mistake. We saw plenty of those happening, especially in Neto Nascimento.
So So just a few minutes left, and we're on lap 26 of an expected 29, JP, but that number is going to come down. Likely 28, maybe even 27, well, probably 28 with 4 minutes to go. So we don't even know exactly when the race is going to end. That changes things up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are just going to be probably timing. He's just timing their moves. Obviously, if you're running out of fuel, you want the race to be done as quickly as possible, but if you have plenty of fuel and you know your competition is just running out, what do? You just push. You just try to extend this race as much as you can. So this could be very, very interesting. You can see there Andre getting a really good run. Will he challenge for the lead? Yes, he will. Goes to the outside. He's probably going to lead this lap. No, just once again lifts off the accelerator and just coasts back a little bit, trying to get a wider arc. But Victor just covers the line and, well, stays in the lead for one more lap.
We're playing chess at some 100 to almost 200 miles an hour. Lap in, lap out. That's what this is. We're playing chess.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's actually a really good, I guess you could say, comparison.
Oh, Spencer Kostowitz.
That was close, and I'm pretty sure his heart felt that as well. I'm pretty sure he kind of skipped a beat right there, because that could have ended very, very badly, very, very quickly.
Also saving. Heard him on the clutch there into turn 5. So a lot going on here. Let's check into a couple of battles throughout the field before this race wraps up. Fabio Zamperlini and Brady Lubenow, a couple of worlds colliding, and they are almost colliding here. Very close through the tri-oval and into turn 1. Heated competition here. This is for 21st out of 39. Lubenow is going to take the spot over the Duckhawk Racing veteran. And, of course, Season 1 champion of the North American Racing League GT3 series.
Yeah, absolutely. He was, I guess, can you say the underdog for that occasion? I'm not quite sure, but he definitely was happy with the championship result. We definitely did not expect halfway through the race, but, he was a worthy champion nonetheless. And right now, trying to fight back after turn 1, you can see trying to go around the outside of the second horseshoe, not really going to be able to, trying to get a cutback line, and looks like Romagnolo got a really bad run, maybe another touch in the wall, but he's losing position. Yeah, he's losing a lot of positions.
That car is broken. That car is not steering right. The way he's kind of swerving, yeah, you can see him there trying to hold the steering wheel. That's a good look at it. He's going to have to pit. You're kidding me. This is big.
Heartbreaking.
That is
and that
so,
could be race
so
over as well.
I don't think they have fast repairs. That's likely going to keep him in the pit lane these last 2 laps. We did just get potentially, I think, 2 to go. Yeah,
and obviously,
2 to go.
even if they do, it looks like they don't. So that's going to be race over for the 55.
Wow. That is heartbreaking there for Giuliano Romagnolo. We are at 2 laps to go. Victor Miranda into turn 5. Andre Melchers following him along.
Oh, something interesting. The gap to Luke Krause is coming down.
Yeah.
It was 3.2. So I wonder if the number 17, if Victor Miranda is just slowing the pace a little bit, allowing Luke Krause to maybe reel him back in to make sure that the number 34 battles the number 25 and gives him a little bit of breathing room.
And of course, Luke Krause took much longer in the pit lane, but when you're able to run like this, not have to worry about saving fuel, well, you can push. So when these guys are saving fuel, lifting a little bit earlier, you can push the braking zones like the bus stop. The bus stop in turn 1 are your heaviest braking zones, your longest braking zones, but also your 2 big saving opportunities on this lap, which means that's where you tend to make up time if you're not saving fuel. Those are easily the 2 biggest places to make up time on this racetrack, and we're seeing that out of Luke Krause right now as he continues to try and close in. It's going to be close. He's a second and a half back. Those 2 ahead, of course, are drafting, but it's gonna be very, very close. They come back to the tri-oval. White flag is out, presented by Whiplash SimCams.
White flag last time out for these guys battling. And look at the gap, Andrew. It's already down to 9/10 of a second. He's really closing. These guys are really saving fuel. So, he's already there. He's essentially there
deep,
already. Yeah, unfortunately went a little bit deep. Kostowicz as well, just behind him. So maybe feeling a little bit of pressure, but wow, last time out for these guys. Obviously, the heart is racing at this point. So who's going to be number 17, the number 25, the number 34? It's still wide open.
And of course, a great battle behind these guys as well. Look at this behind them. Neto Nascimento, Matthew Dench, Spencer Marsh, Lawrence Zavadil, and Paulo Gadai, your top 9 in a line here. and battles throughout the
Oh,
entire
that's
field, and
mental.
Neto way off the racetrack in the West Horseshoe on the
that's his
final lap.
second mistake.
Heartbreak for Devena Esports driver. And he will fall all the way back to Nick Ludicky. They will battle it out for 9th and 10th, it looks like. Back up front, though, Luke Krause is there. Does he make a move into the bus stop? Does he wait for out of the bus stop?
I'm pretty sure Miranda just wants him to make a move into the bus stop, but obviously, Andrew, if he just holds back, he's going to have double slipstream, and he could be the winner. Obviously, you can see Miranda going a little bit slowly, backing everybody up, and that could really help, and you can see Melcher's just trying to back up, trying to get that slipstream, trying to get that slingshot, and, well, slowing down Krause a little bit. That's going to hurt the number 34, but look at the slipstream now Melcher's has. 3.5 tenths of a second. That's definitely going to be enough to catch, but is it enough to pass?
Well, you're not lifting now, regardless of fuel. The run to the finish line to win round number 2 of the North American Racing League Porsche Cup season. To the line, it's going to be a drag race, side-by-side contact. Andre Melchers, you're kidding me, by a nose.
3
1,000ths of a second.
Wow.
Wow, indeed. 3 1,000ths of a second. Think about that. That's incredible. That is a NASCAR finish. There's another one to the line there. That looked like Curtis Jones and Rafael Bonifacio, rather. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Victor Miranda, heartbreak there, certainly. And you know you're a sitting duck into the closing laps at Daytona when you're leading. Wow.
That is just timing to perfection by Melchers, and that, as you mentioned, heartbreak for Miranda. 3 1,000ths, Andrew. That is... You can barely get closer than that. Just 2 1,000ths, and... Oh, wow.
I don't think... In Porsche Cup cars at Daytona, I don't think it gets any closer. I mean, obviously, it's technically possible, but I don't know that you can in iRacing. That's just... Wow. Replays galore. Let's get them going. This is going to be a highlight for a while. Let's go back onto this final lap. Andre Melchers. You can see here, he is sitting back. He's going to back Luke Krause way up. Luke has to kind of scramble at that point, trying to figure out exactly what he needs to do. Let's watch from Luke Krause's point of view as Melchers sets this up beautifully. I can't believe he's just gone back-to-back in this fashion.
And you can see at this point, as you mentioned, just foot flat to the floor. You can see Krause is just getting the, just 2 slipstreams at the same time. You can see he goes down below, kind of hugs that yellow line. You can see the number 25 just kind of block him. Oh, Victor even got a push, so the gap was going to be even bigger if it wasn't for Luke Krause.
Yeah, you have to wonder what would have happened there if that bump maybe hadn't come that same way. Let's go back to where they pop onto the oval here and just watch this entire setup. This is just masterful stuff out of Andre Melchers. He was saving fuel so aggressively the entire race, especially here at the end. Backed himself up, allowed Victor Miranda to pass, saving fuel. I want to know what his fuel number was at the end. I want to know how much fuel he had there coming to the line. I would love to know.
At this point, you can see just Victor goes a bit defensive. You can see how much Andre just backs off. He even goes defensive for a little bit to not allow Luke Krause to get past him. And at that point in time, Victor, well, it's just a sitting duck. He's just foot flat to the floor. Try to keep the steering wheel as straight as possible. But at that point, as I mentioned, a sitting duck. You just have to hope that your run was good enough. And you can see Andre just closing in at this point in time. And he kind of thinks about going defensive at one point, I think. Just goes back to the outside. And there you go. You can see the bump really did help momentarily the number 17. They got a bit of a touch.
That net code between Miranda and Melchers, I think, did Miranda in. There's that little bit of resistance and certainly scrubbing speed on the apron like that. I wonder if he had popped back onto the apron and back up onto the oval and straightened out. I wonder if this result would have been any different. That is the margin across the line. That is incredible.
That is just fantastic to watch.
That is a NASCAR finish again. I mean, that is absolutely what you see in a NASCAR race here at Daytona, and we just got it in a Porsche Cup race. One more time, and then we'll talk to our top 2 of each class. This is just incredible. We'll watch it from high above the speedway at the tower. This is going to be a highlight for a while in North American Racing League. This really is. This is going to be one of the best finishes for some time.
Oh, absolutely. This is one of the highlights, I guess, finish even for us at PitStopTV. So it was just amazing to watch. I can kind of feel the heartbreak for Victor Miranda. I can feel, I guess, the
and even
joy
for Luke
from Andre.
Krause.
Yeah,
Luke
he was
going to
really
have a great
close.
opportunity, but Andre backed him up there, and that's what changed the entire race.
I guess if Luke, I don't know if he was even further away, I'm not pretty sure that would have made a difference, but definitely if Victor backed him up, it nearly worked for him. But think about it, Luke was 3 seconds away with 2 laps to go.
And you know what? Oh, wait a minute. I wonder. It looked like Victor Miranda slowed down pretty aggressively, like pretty suddenly. I wonder if there was a sputter. Let's go on board. We'll bring the music down. Listen. Yes! There was a sputter! Yo, you're kidding me! Wow. Victor Miranda. That is going to be a good interview here in a second, JP. That sputter to the line, that is crushing.
That is heartbreaking.
I can tell you're a bit speechless there. That is crushing. That is a crushing blow to be Victor Miranda and have those small little sputters ruin the race for you. That is why Andre got such a good run. Obviously, he had a great run going, and I wonder as well if Luke Krause had popped up high, if he would have been able to pass those guys both and hold Andre in a box there. That would have changed this entire finish as well. Let's go ahead and bring in the race winner, Andre Melchers. And Andre, wow, breathtaking to the line. 3/1000ths of a second. That's the NASCAR finish. How'd you do that?
I did that because Victor ran out of fuel actually before the finish line. And yeah, that was pretty much the most exciting race finish I've ever had. That was insane.
Yeah, we heard a couple of the sputters just now in one of the replays. I noticed a small little lurch from the 17, almost like it had sputtered. What was your fuel number at the end? How close were you to suffering the same fate?
I actually had like a bit at the end after the finish line, like 1 liter or so. The target for the race was to save as much as possible before the pit stop. I honestly thought I would create a gap because I thought actually me saving like the most from the front group. I actually thought that, and then I saw after the pits Victor in my mirrors quite big, and yeah. Then I thought, yeah, it will be between me and Victor at the end, and yeah, it was really exciting.
So another race win, but of course the nature of Daytona, it wasn't like it was a dominating race for you, but does that change next week at Long Beach? What do you think of Long Beach at round 3?
I can't say it yet. I didn't drive Long Beach a lot. I think I don't even did a race there. But I will definitely put in some practice, and yeah, we'll see then next week.
And do you try and 3-peat? Do you try and 4-peat? Hungaroring at race 4? I mean, do you try and keep this going, or do you just kind of relax and roll with the punches here and just see what you can get?
No, I will definitely not relax. I will try as hard as possible for the next race as well, and will not give up yet. I mean, even though I lead the championship, it's not a reason to like relax.
I like that answer. I like that answer a lot. We look forward to it, Andre. Congratulations on another race win and 7 laps led as well. Who makes it happen for you?
I want to thank the team again. I pretty appreciate it that I'm in ROG. They helped me a lot, also with setup stuff and data. Yeah, and greetings to them, definitely.
Once again, big congratulations to you today, Andre. Another race win. I think one of the 2 biggest wild cards of the season. Congratulations. Live this one up. Celebrate.
Thank you.
And that is Andre Melchers. And you know what? I probably should have asked him, JP, what time it is. Maybe we can ask him next week, because it seems like he's going to go for another one next week at Long Beach. But I would like to know what time it is for him right now and why he stays up so darn late for these races. Well, I guess we know why. He wins them. We'll hand things over to Victor Miranda, second place tonight at Daytona.
Então, Victor, eu fiquei sem palavras na linha de chegada. Me fala sobre sua corrida, porque eu ainda tô sem palavras. Isso aí foi uma chegada, assim, do século, parece. Foi bem eu vi o teu carro acabando combustível, mas me conta como é que foi tua corrida.
Foi bem difícil. Como eu já tinha falado na semana passada, da pista, a estratégia de combustível é muito forte. E eu não consegui encaixar meu Qualify. Acredito que ia ficar bem próximo ali do Melchers. Mas ele vacilou um pouquinho na largada ali, porque é inclinado, né? A pista é inclinada ali, então acho que alguns pilotos distracionaram. Então logo eu consegui passar para terceiro na curva 2, para eu não rodar, porque eu freei muito dentro. Aconteceu um toque ali com o Spencer. E logo no comecinho da corrida comprometeu, deu dano ali no meu capô. E foi o suficiente ali para perder 2 km de reta. No final não dá para economizar mais combustível do que eu gostaria. Então a estratégia foi se manter ali em terceiro até pelo menos a parada, né, que foi o que a gente fez, tentar salvar o máximo que dava, mesmo com esse dano no carro. Na parada do box corrigi o dano, e aí eu arrisquei, coloquei menos 2 litros do que era para colocar no box, justamente porque eu sabia que o Melchers tinha economizado bastante. E eu tinha que sair próximo dele para tentar economizar atrás dele. E foi essa estratégia, deu certo, mas depois que eu cheguei nele, eu tinha que economizar mais 2 litros ali em 7, 6 voltas. Então, comecei a puxar a embreagem quase em todas as curvas, tanto que o P3 e o P4 chegaram. E até a última volta ali eu comecei a economizar muito, até deu para ver na buzz stop ali, eu puxando o carro para dentro, para ele não tentar ultrapassar, mas eu sabia que a estratégia dele era aí próximo da buzz stop, pegar o vácuo e passar na reta, que é bem forte esse vácuo desse carro. Mas acredito que, se eu tivesse um pouquinho mais de combustível, dava pra tentar alguma coisa. Faltou combustível ali nos últimos 50 metros, mesmo com o bump do Luke, não deu. Mas foi uma corridaça. Todo mundo de parabéns, corrida de alto nível. Muito bom andar com grid bom desse jeito.
Nossa, com certeza, chegada por 3 milésimos foi assim, insano de ver. Obviamente ficamos um pouco frustrados, né, de não ter o brasileiro ganhando, mas com certeza você correu uma corridaça. E pensando semana que vem em Long Beach, como que muda todo esse treinamento? Obviamente lá eu acho que vai ter menos fuel saving, né, vai ter menos, vai precisar economizar menos combustível e vai ser mais ritmo de corrida. Como é que você se adapta a isso?
Acredito que Long Beach é uma pista muito difícil, com muitos bumps. Esse carro, principalmente, ele não funciona muito bem com os bumps, né? Ele distraciona facilmente. E diferente dos outros GT3, esse carro aqui você sempre tem que pensar no futuro da corrida, seja economizando combustível, seja economizando pneu, ou até mesmo de curva a curva ali, sem deixar superaquecer os pneus. E tenho certeza que o Long Beach vai ser esse o desafio aqui no ritmo de corrida, né? Tentar manter a temperatura dos pneus mais baixas possível. Mas vai ser muito difícil. É uma pista que as retomadas e ainda mais o hairpin, acho que ali vai ser um ponto de muita preocupação para todo mundo. Mas vamos ver, acredito que vai ser uma corrida difícil de novo. Acho que principalmente porque é carnaval aqui em São Paulo, aqui no Brasil, então tem esse ponto aí de menos de treino. mas vamos ver, a gente vai ter que treinar ao máximo, tentar chegar preparado, que o André anda muito.
Exatamente. E, bom, show de bola, você falou tudo que a gente precisava. E antes de eu deixar você, quem que você tem que agradecer pelo seu bom trabalho aí hoje?
Bom, agradeço principalmente a Deus, meus pais aqui que estão assistindo aqui, já é 1h da manhã. Agradecer também aos meus amigos e companheiros aqui de treino, o Fábio Zampellini, Paulo Godoy, que também ganhou na Pro AM. Agradecer o Jean Karadec, que andou na AM um pouco mais cedo. Agradecer o Luan Roth, agradecer, enfim, uma galera que anda com a gente. Agradecer até a minha equipe, né, a Energy Sim Sport. Agradecer a Metro Network que vem nos apoiando aí na Porsche. E é isso, vamos pra próxima.
Isso aí, show de bola. Obrigado pelo teu tempo e bom, espero falar contigo semana que vem.
Obrigado, até mais.
So Andrew, that was Victor Miranda. Kind of happy with the result, kind of, just laughing it off due to how close it was. So, well, he mentioned obviously that the race was very hard, and well, we noticed from last week the interviews, he said the strategy was the main point of the race. So obviously you had to save a lot of fuel just to be in competition. His quality was bad. He messed up a little bit of the lap. He thought he was going to be closer to Andre in qualifying, but unfortunately he wasn't. But obviously we saw that Melchers unfortunately got the start wrong, due to the banking of the race course, and well, he ended up jumping a few positions. Actually, he touched with Spencer Kostowicz, I think, on the first lap on turns number 3 on the hairpin. So unfortunately he got a little bit of damage on his quarter panel, and that ended up costing him at least 1 or 2 kph, he mentioned. So he couldn't really save a lot of fuel. It doesn't sound like a lot, but obviously over the course of 20-30 minutes of racing, it just adds up a little by little. On the pit lane, he actually risked a lot. He underfueled the car by over 2 liters and had to save this 2 liters after he caught up with Andre later on the race. And well, you could hear the car on the final lap. He said that he was running so low on fuel, he was saving on the last lap, allowing everybody to catch up to him. But unfortunately, it was just not close enough. It was just not enough to finish on the lead. Talking about Long Beach, he said the track is very hard. Obviously, the bumps. He said that the Porsche gets quite upset with all the bumps, loses a little bit of traction. So it's gonna be difficult for them. And obviously, he mentioned that the tires are gonna be a really good point next week. It's gonna be really hard to keep the tires on the right temperature, not make sure you don't overheat them with all the bumps and losing traction, all that sort of stuff. So quite insightful, quite fun, and obviously still heartbreaking for him.
Really, really good race that Victor put on, and I'm excited to see how he progresses through this season and how he's able to bring the fight to Andre in future rounds. We'll move things down the line. I'm going to try and give you a break here, JP. I looked at our entry list, and it looks like Lawrence is out of Colorado, so I think I'm going to try and give you a break here. Lawrence Savadil, you got a copy?
Oh.
Lawrence, I'm probably butchering that last name. Let's get that in the air first. What is the correct pronunciation straight from Lawrence on your last name?
Zavadil.
Zavadil?
Yep.
That works for me. Really good race from you. Obviously, you come home in victory lane, and that 124 looked pretty solid, battling with Paulo Goday and several others throughout the race. What was it like from your point of view?
It was fantastic. I was just racing so hard. Paul was right up my butt the whole race. I was doing everything I could to catch March because I knew if I could get into draft, then I would be able to avoid the last lap pass by Godoy on the last straight. So I was doing everything I could to keep up with Marsh, and once I got him, I knew that was pretty much it.
And it seems like 2 straight fuel races. It's going to go completely out the window next week at Long Beach. The entire, dynamic of these races will be flipped up on its head. Going more so to survival, of course. How do you attack Long Beach next week?
Play it safe the first few laps, that's for sure. That track is about as chaotic as it gets. So hopefully we just got to survive the first few laps. Some of these guys are really aggressive on the first couple of laps I noticed here, but so hopefully just got to cover that inside line and prevent some of those super aggressive guys. But that's my go-to.
And of course, it seems like there's a whole lot to learn about everybody else in the field. We know a lot of these guys out there. We know a bit about Matthew Dench and Nick Ludicky. Tell us something about you that we might not know yet.
Oh, I only started sim racing just a couple years ago. I'm building a spec Miata in real life, so hoping to get into that here within the next couple of years. And that's pretty much it about me. I'm just an independent guy, just trying to do my best.
Let's hear a bit about that Miata then real quick. What generation and what motor's in it?
2000 NB, and it's a 1.8 liter.
There you go. I've got a friend of mine that actually runs a 1990 with a 1.6, so a little bit of, interest there, but that's pretty cool. By all means, send us some pictures. It'd be cool to see. Lawrence, congratulations on a Pro-Am victory this evening. Hope to see you a whole lot more throughout the season. 6 rounds to go. Best of luck to you.
Thanks so much, guys.
So Lawrence Zavadil there with the Pro-Am victory this evening. I think I just made a new friend with a 2000 Miata with a 1.8 in it compared to my buddy David's 1990 with a 1.6. I might have to befriend this guy, Lawrence Zavido, real quick, but JP will hand things on down to Pro-Am's second place, Paulo Godoy.
Então, Paulo, falando contigo novamente, como é que foi tua corrida aí? Como é que foi? Infelizmente, acabou terminando em segundo lugar, se eu não me engano, mas garanto que foi divertido e foi, com certeza foi puxado, não foi?
Boa noite, João Paulo. Boa noite todo mundo que está nos assistindo. É uma corrida extremamente complicada, onde o tempo e o pace de todo mundo é muito igual. A diferença de tempo de um para o outro pode ser até relativamente diferente, mas como é uma pista que puxa um vácuo infinito, os carros acabam andando muito próximos. A tática foi como esperado, economizar um pouco de combustível, não esquentar os pneus, poupar equipamento de uma forma geral, e acabou vindo esse P2. Mas estou muito feliz, foi muito divertido, é extremamente desafiador. E assim, vamos treinar para vir forte nas próximas etapas, para conseguir manter a hegemonia do pódio e, se for possível, conseguir pegar esse P1 sempre, que é o almejado.
Claro. E, obviamente, falando de semana que vem, vai ser em Long Beach, então uma pista muito diferente de Daytona. Como é que você se prepara para uma pista daquela?
Long Beach é um outro tipo de desafio. Na verdade, eu acho que é uma pista que vai propor aos pilotos tentar ficar vivo, né? Acho que é o mais importante. A 992 não vai ser um carro tranquilo lá, uma pista que tem muitos desafios quanto à pista, muito bump. Então é ritmo de corrida, ao mesmo tempo sem estragar o carro e nem muito menos morrer, né? Então é se preparar, fazer pace de corrida, aprender a pista ao máximo, andar no limite e tentar não morrer para trazer mais um pódio para casa. Esse é o meu objetivo e andar muito próximo do Lawrence, ou tentar deixar ele mais para trás possível, que ele tá andando muito também. Quero parabenizá-lo, inclusive, pelo pódio, e o P1 foi bom, foi muito boa a disputa e ele é muito rápido.
Perfeito. Basicamente falou tudo que eu precisava escutar, falou o que todo mundo precisava escutar em casa também. Dito isso, quem que você precisa agradecer, quem que você quer agradecer pelo teu resultado hoje?
Primeiramente a Deus, né, João Paulo, sempre, pela saúde e pela disposição de estar aqui. Quero agradecer minha equipe, a U Race. Hoje o companheiro de equipe, o Luan Hot, infelizmente teve um problema de conexão. Acredito que não conseguiu nem largar, não consegui ver ainda direito o que aconteceu. Mas não deu para fazer essa dobradinha hoje, mas é o que a gente vai ficar tentando buscar a cada etapa. Então, a U Race, né, obviamente os patrocinadores, que é a Real Drive, a Ciência VR Simuladores, a Motor Bull, Strike Brasil, Lindói Autopeças e Comida do Dia. E no mais, minha família, minha esposa que tá sempre me dando um tempo para estar aqui treinando e me divertindo, querendo ou não. E todos os meus amigos, inclusive os de treino, que se não fosse ele, a gente não estaria todo... O Brasil não estaria tão bem representado aqui pelo Vitinho, a Perline, o Lauí, Luan Hot, enfim. Todo mundo ali da Brazuca que tá andando aqui.
Show de bola, Paula. Vou continuar torcendo pelo time Brasil e espero falar contigo semana que vem.
Também quero vir aqui semana que vem. E todas as outras etapas. Muito obrigado, viu? Um forte abraço pra todo mundo que tá assistindo. Tchau, tchau. Até a próxima.
All right, Andrew. So that was Paulo Godoy. He was very happy with the race. He said that the race obviously is very complicated due to the nature of Daytona. Obviously, just being a 50-minute race, you're just going to be stuck in the slipstream. The pace was very similar on race pace to everybody. So, he was running the same lap times as the leader just because, Daytona is just bringing everybody close together. Obviously, he mentioned that the strategy, again, it was just saving fuel, saving equipment, just saving tires, all that sort of stuff throughout the race. He was very happy. He says this is a lot of fun. The challenge is absolutely massive just due to the pace of everybody. He wants to keep himself at the podium looking towards next week. He's not the only driver, but he's the only driver in the Pro-Am to be 2 times in the podium, so he's just really happy and wants to keep that going. In Long Beach, he said that, well, the most important thing is just to stay alive throughout the race. That's going to be the big challenge And yeah, that's going to be what practice is going to be focused, obviously on pace, but obviously to keep himself in one piece. And obviously he wants to thank and, well, give a shout out to Lawrence just due to the racing that they had. He said it was a lot of fun, and he really wants to catch up to him and hopefully give him a hard time at Long Beach.
A big shout out to our partners, as always, with the North American Racing League Porsche Cup season. Of course, VRS, Virtual Racing School, providing the amateur setups, and I believe having a hand in some of the pro setups, I believe. I don't want to speak too stiffly on that. I might be wrong, but providing a lot of the help, a lot of the prizes as well. In fact, they're having an end-of-season raffle, and the gear is insane. A lot of... actually, let me pull it up. Let's see if I can grab it in Discord. Do want to see... I just seen it. I know Scott Reister posted a picture of it recently. Here we go. Oh, okay. This is basically one of their new Direct Force Pro wheelbases. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And I gotta be honest. As somebody who has, you know, an old Logitech, now, nothing against Logitech, great wheel, it served me well, but as somebody who has an old Logitech, I would love nothing more than to go, for example, up to this new VRS wheel. I've heard great things about it. The Direct Force Pro certainly, I think, is a wheel that many people should strive for, a wheelbase that many people should strive for and should look at in the future. And just everything at VRS is certainly top quality, top-notch products. The setups, the telemetry service, it's all fantastic, top of the line. Go hit yourself up, or I guess hit them up at Virtual Racing School. VRS is top-notch stuff, as well as the coaching you get at Maradness and the setup help, I'm sure, and just everything you get over the community in general that you get at Maradness. I know they share the streams in there, and they have their own streams that they share in there, and it just the community aspect. I popped over into their Discord server in our intermission, JP, and I saw some conversation even between Alex Persian and Brian Zinn. They're both over there. The community they have building up, and what Daniel Morad has done in that group is really, really cool, really inspiring, honestly. Just really cool to watch that group grow over the course of the last couple of years. Of course, Tam Livery and JS Consulting providing a lot of help as well on the back end, getting a lot of those graphics designed, and of course the website hosted here for the North American Racing League. Let's take a look at our race results from our Pro-Am event today. There it is, JP. That margin of victory, that's just insane. 0.003, 3/1000ths of a second, and you have to wonder if Luke Krause could have gone high instead of low. What he could have done coming to the line, that would have changed things up as well. Spencer Kostowitz, a really good finish there in fourth, very, very close. And Matthew Dench, Spencer Marsh, they said they were running out of fuel coming to the line just ahead of Zavadil there in seventh, and maybe he could have gotten a top five almost. Paulo Gadai there in eighth, Nick Ludicky ninth, with Neto Nascimento 10th. A great battle there as well.
Absolutely great battle throughout the field. Nicholas Mitchell is going to finish in 11th place ahead of Tony Kanaan, so he got a few positions back, was finishing 12th place. Curtis Jones is going to finish in 13th place. Rafael Bonifacio is going to finish in 14th. David Sampson is going to finish in 15th ahead of Brian DeFries. Scott Kimbrough in 17th. Mikael Ruderbusch in 18th. Lawi Santi in 19th. And Brady Lubnow is going to round off our top 20.
Finishing 21st, you will find car 27, piloted by Fabio Zamperlini, past champion of the GT3 Series. I think would definitely like to heat up the start to his season next week at Long Beach. We'll see what he can do out in California. Nick Peterson there in 22nd for the Pro-Am class, and just ahead of James Hansen, Reed Gibson, Joshua Lewis, Blake Scott, Alessandro Torchio, and Blaine Sparling. Those were all for position, all the way back to M. Taki, one of the pro drivers there in 29th, and Paul Ricciobene, I believe, Ricciobene, I gotta get that one right. He explained it to me in the Discord chat, and I think I need a refresher there, Paul. So, by all means, feel free to correct me. Just 1 minute, 33 seconds back. And honestly, JP, over the course of 50 minutes, I wouldn't have been able to do that good. So, that is a just 1 minute and 33 seconds back. Pretty good race.
How pretty race. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to stick with him as well. Aaron Law is going to finish in 31st place. Unfortunately, a lap down. Juliana Romagnolo in 32nd, John Sadlek in 33rd, both of them 2 laps down. Kevin Kurisha in 34th, 6 laps down. Luan Hott in 35th. Paulo Godoy mentioned that he had connection issues, so unfortunately for him, he's going to finish in 35th place. Bernardo Fourier in 36th, Mark Scott 37th, Justin T. Sang in 38th, and Scott Reiser, unfortunately, Andrew, in 39th place.
Yeah, heartbreak there for Scott, but I know he's in good spirits as a whole about the series. Of course, being one of the driving forces, he deserves just as much thanks as the rest of our partners here with the North American Racing League, and certainly puts a lot of hard work and effort into the series. And you hate to see those nights where he ends up way in the back, but I'm sure he'll rebound pretty nicely next week at Long Beach, maybe in 2 weeks at Hungaroring. Of course, the way the GT3 race went last season for him at Hungaroring, he has got to certainly do a whole lot better this time around, right? You don't want to see him flipping in turn 2 again, so let's knock on wood for him real quick and hope that he has a better outing in a couple of weeks. That said, JP, that is a day of racing in the books. Our own PitStopTV Tuesday, properly. 2 broadcasts on Tuesday, 2/22/2022, with 2 races in the evening here, and 2 of us in the booth all day. How about that?
That's really nice, and well, it was the day of the twos. Unfortunately for me, it's already the 23rd, so that kind of just breaks it away, doesn't it? Let's pretend it isn't. Let's pretend it's the 22nd.
That adds to it then. We're on 2 separate days.
Oh, there we go.
And we're 2 hours apart.
Oh, there we go. And it's nearly 2 a.m. in Brazil. Not quite, but close.
And we have 22 viewers. Oh, now it dropped down a little bit, but we had 22 viewers for a second anyways. We certainly appreciate all of you guys sticking around with us, even through the extended post race here with these guys. It is a long post race that we get. You know what? We talked to 2 drivers from 2 different classes. There you go. I mean, the theme continues here. You have 2 theme park rides here, just outside of the horseshoe. I'll stop now. But we do want to go ahead and look at the upcoming broadcasts here at PitStopTV. I promise there's more than just 2 of them, as we've got the Outlaws Sim Series tomorrow night, or I guess for you, later this evening at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. That's going to be a lot of fun. NASCAR Next Gen Cars. We'll play that promo here in a second, just after some more music, after the end of our broadcast. You'll get to see kind of what that Next Gen car is all about a little bit. Really looking forward to seeing how that goes. Open setups for those cars as well. Emerson Arden will be on the call for that one. And then, JP, look at that. Mount Panorama right back onto the mountain with the BSRTC guys. That's going to be wild. Seeing the Miatas race earlier today, I have no clue. I have even less of a clue of what to expect now than I did earlier in the day. Man, that's going to be some insane racing. Certainly some drama will unfold on Mount Panorama. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, you can see Sunday, we've got the SCAR Grid Sports Car Championship right back in order at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca with some GT1 cars. So if you are a fan of road racing, this is the week for you. 5 road race broadcasts in a row. And today we had 6 total races that we broadcast. We're going to have another 6 between these 3 broadcasts. So that's 12 races within 5 broadcasts this week alone. Yeah, this is the week of the road racer here on PitStopTV.
Yeah, this has been insane. Obviously, I love road racing, so, I'm very, very happy with it. But, well, I'm pretty sure soon we're going to be coming back to norm, a bit of over racing, a bit of road racing to make sure everybody's happy at PitStopTV. But obviously, to make sure you follow not only the road aspect, but also the oval aspect of PitStopTV, you should follow us on every single social media at facebook.com/PitStopTV, at twitter.com/PitStopTV_, Instagram.com/pit_stop_TV, and obviously at youtube.com/PitStopTV1.
It has been a treat as per always, and we certainly appreciate everybody's support out there. We do have other broadcasts next week. In fact, one that's kind of a surprise right now. We'll let you in on the secret here soon. That'll double up on our Wednesday. Things will slow down without BSR, but not to worry. They should be back soon. We're working on something with them, and hopefully we do get that worked out. And of course, hey, SCAR is back in the schedule, bringing that GT1 flavor back in. A lot of great things to watch out for here on PitStopTV. And if you are not subscribed yet, if you do not follow us yet on any platform, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to us. I hate to get into that cliche YouTuber stuff, but it really does help a lot here at PitStopTV. It lets us know that we're doing a good job, that you appreciate what we're doing, and even if you feel like we could do any better, by all means, you can let us know anytime. We're open to that criticism, we're open to that feedback, and hitting that subscribe button still means a whole lot to us and goes a long ways. JP, it's been a lot of fun, as per always, and I'm just excited we get to do it do these broadcasts so often together. I really am. I know, a couple of years ago, it was kind of a rotating door. I didn't know exactly who I was going to get, and I have no complaints about that. I like working with multiple people, but to have the consistency that we have now, you and I, is really fun and a really good partnership. I really enjoy it, and hopefully it goes on for a long time here at PitStopTV. 2022 is just getting started, man. We're only 2 months in. There's still 10 months to go of this year, so a whole lot of time left in the year. It has been just 2 of us on the call this evening, myself, Andrew Cardinale IV, with JP Costa alongside, but from everybody here at PitStopTV, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Have a fantastic night, and be right back here next week for Long Beach with the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Series.